Zero to his dedication to the town and perhaps a
Oh,
moment of silence. I'm sorry about that.
Mayor, thank you very much. Can we just have a moment of silence? Again, his name, Mark?
Yes, his name is Bud Hyman. He was a deputy fire chief in town.
Thank you. Can I please have a moment of silence? Thank you. And thank you again, Deputy Mayor, for reminding me. I'm going to ask everyone in town to please make sure you're signed up for alerts. Ask your friends to go to our website and sign yourself up. We need more and more people to get that information on a regular basis. I was surprised in meeting with staff that we really have a ways to go to get more and more people signed up for our alerts. So please make sure that you do that. Teaneck native Jim Levin's book, Images of America. Teaneck is still on sale in the township clerk's office for $20. And this Friday is September 11th. Township will be holding the ceremony beginning at, I believe, 8:40. Is that right, Manager?
That's correct. Yes, 8:40.
8:40. And we're going to do it in the same place in the municipal parking lot near the entrance.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. So 8:40 this Friday, September 11th. Saturday, September 12th and Sunday, September 13th from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. All residents are invited to participate in a townwide garage sale at their private residence. Rain dates will be the following weekend. The deadline to register is Wednesday, September 9th, tomorrow, by 5 p.m. Please remember to wear face coverings and practice social distancing during these events. Saturday, September 12th and Sunday, September 13th, there'll be a summer shredding event in the municipal parking lot at 818 Teaneck Road from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. or until the truck is full. Please check the township website and social media guidelines on how the event will take place. From September 8th to 15th will be Teaneck Restaurant Week. So we're in the start of Teaneck Restaurant Week right now. The past few months have been difficult for restaurants across the country and specifically here in Teaneck. As a community, let us try to make a conscious effort to eat or pick up as much food as possible throughout the coming week from Teaneck-based food establishments. The council just met prior to this meeting in closed session to discuss the following: contracts, East Cedar Lane, safety, legal issues and or opinions on any items on the open session agenda, litigation updates, and Oprah. We do not have any presentations this evening, so we'll move on. Miscellaneous, old business.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to follow up on old business. There was a discussion about FDU training, speaking with someone with regard to equity and inclusion training. Additionally, I'd like to ask council about the HR training that was going to be available to council members. Just like to follow up on those two old business items.
I can speak to the FTU and I'll let the manager speak to the other one. In fact, I'm having a meeting, a telephone conference call with faculty members from FDU. They wanted to put together what they think might be a series of educational presentations that we can do via Zoom for the community on racism, equity, privilege, and these faculty have done it in other places in the county, especially in schools. But I think it would be particularly timely for us to have that educational opportunity for our residents. So as soon as we get an outline and we find out, who's going to be doing the moderating and the lecturing, we'll put something out, and hopefully sooner than later rather. Dean, you want to answer the second part?
The training that's going to be provided to council, also want to provide it to all the boards. John and I are working on several dates, and we hope to have that accomplished within the next several weeks.
Thank you.
Okay. New business. Communications. I have a couple of items here, just to give you an idea of what we've been doing. Um, I will be attending a Zoom meeting, obviously, with PSE&G on September 22nd. With mayors throughout Bergen County. We asked Congressman Gottheimer to set this meeting up for us, to basically give them feedback as to what worked and what didn't work in the most recent storm. We think it's important that they hear from the mayors and what we had to deal with and what we were hearing from our residents. So that's going to take place on September 22nd, and I will be on that call. I already mentioned the FDU speaker series that we're working on. I've also had a meeting with the New Jersey State Department of Health in regards to what they are doing regarding the disproportionate numbers of COVID-19 in the Black and Latino community. I had that meeting almost 2 weeks ago. They are supposedly sending me some educational material, which I have yet to receive. They are also going to send me additional data that they say they have on Teaneck specifically that we have not been able to see. And then perhaps have a discussion about trying to get other educational opportunities for our residents, as well as, and I don't want to promise anything, but we started a discussion of getting a testing station from the state put here in Teaneck. So we'll see whether or not we can get that done. I've been calling them back and I haven't had a call back yet. It's been 2 weeks, so right now I'm starting to become unhappy. What else? Oh, and Dean and I and Chief O'Reilly met with representatives from the NAACP. I think it was a very fruitful and open conversation. They asked for some information and we've provided it to them. And we're looking at some ways in which we can increase communication between our police department and I think especially the youth, right, Dean?
Yes, correct.
We talked about doing some things with the youth in town. So we're going to be having another meeting. We haven't set up that meeting yet, but we're going to be meeting with them again. I believe that's all I have under communications. Anybody have anything else? No? Okay.
Mayor, just a question
Yeah.
related, and actually, you mentioned it earlier when you mentioned about the census. And I believe, Dean, we had received some grant funding for census. We were going to do postcards. I was just wondering if we have any update on that. Additionally, have we checked into any of areas of our township that are low report areas that we're going to try to target in terms of response rate for census?
Sure. We sent out over 4,000 postcards to the areas that had the lower response rate for the census. So they went out about 2 weeks ago, maybe a little bit longer. We also distributed all of these postcards. They're at our municipal buildings, library. They're at our recreation department, police department as well. Luis, my assistant, has circulated the information through our social media outlets, and he's been very good at translating it in Spanish as well to get that message out. So I think we've been pretty successful in promoting that message. Again, we've done it by blast email, Facebook, Twitter, through our Nixle messaging. We've pretty much used and exhausted all of our resources. So I think we've done a pretty good job with getting that message out.
Thank you. And the deadline is the end of September, correct? September
Correct.
30th?
September 30th, yes.
Okay. No other communications, committee reports by council
I'm
liaisons?
sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Can I don't know if council was notified before the NAACP meeting, but could we be notified in case others want to attend before the next one, if there's going to be a next one?
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely. Anybody else? Okay. Committee reports by council liaisons.
Yes, Mark, sure. I'll jump in. Cedar Lane Management Group will have our first virtual meeting, our first meeting since February. That was a monthly meeting that got thrown off by the pandemic. That meeting will be tomorrow night. Unfortunately, dinner will not be served. At the planning board meeting, the planning board meetings have been held on track over the last few months. At the planning board meeting this past last week, we approved the site plan approval. It was a courtesy review for the site plan approval for this affordable senior housing complex at the old DPW site at 1425 Teaneck Road. That now goes to the funding round in which we're applying for grants and whatnot for that project to see if it's be viable or not. And that's my reports from those committees. Yeah, sorry, I apologize. Teaneck Historic Preservation has monthly meetings on Zoom now. We've already had one. We have monthly meetings for September, October, and November and December. And our next meeting is on next Wednesday. So,
Deputy Mayor Katz, did you have your hand up? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, we had a few zoning subcommittee meetings in the last few weeks. Alfred Avenue was discussed on one of them, as well as today was discussed. Holy Name was discussed at one of them. Today when we had our meeting, also spoke about the Stop and Shop area, as well as we spoke about generators and making sure that whatever we put in place after Sandy to help residents have easier access to be able to install generators and not get bogged down by the zoning board is still in place, which it is. We discussed a little bit about the payment in lieu of parking. And we also discussed today Richard Price's 2014 report for scattered sites. Councilman Burgon or Deputy Mayor Schwartz, did I miss anything from our conversation?
no, that is perfect. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
And we touched upon tents, just so you know. That's it.
Okay.
Because November 1st, tents rules change as far as state requirements.
Any other council liaison reports? No?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, can I talk about the Chamber of Commerce really quickly?
Oh, please do.
I've attended 2 Chamber of Commerce meetings virtually. And they have a lot of good ideas on how to help our businesses and on how to help Teaneck overall. As this council already knows, they are persistent in their desire to have office space in City Hall. And hopefully when this pandemic ends, we can figure something out that helps them and the township mutually. They are also working on an exciting new mentoring program that will help new entrepreneurs get going and children who have an interest in starting their own businesses one day. They are also starting to organize their annual gala award ceremony, which will be mostly virtual and will take place in November after the general election. So there's a lot going on with the Chamber of Commerce, and I will be sure to keep this council updated as the liaison going forward to the best of my ability. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor, just one
Yes.
more thing quickly. The Senior Citizen Advisory Board is going to be meeting September 17th outdoors, appropriately spaced. And they're hoping to start getting some classes back together in the tent that the rec center is putting up outside. The attendance won't be as large as it usually is, but it'll be something. And that should be towards the end of September also, right, team?
Yes, that's correct.
Great. Great. Thank you.
And Mayor, just quickly, with the Chamber of Commerce, you know, the plan is once we refurbish the basement of the municipal building, the plan is to provide space to the Chamber of Commerce, a little office space to them. So we will have them there at some point in time.
Great. Okay. All right. Council listed items. Removal of Powell Building, Councilwoman Organ.
Yeah, I'll just jump right into the deep end. The PAL building, I know many people in Teaneck have fond memories of it, and it's had many uses over the years. It's at the corner of Bell Avenue and Billington Road. But now it's been deserted for over a decade and it's dilapidated. And if you walk around it, the windowsills are full of dead bees and there is a rodent problem in the area. And we have no plans to convert it to a usable space. And so I am aware that there's been table discussion in the past of taking it down, but I'd like to bring that up again. And I think we should take it down, asbestos and all, and turn it into open space. Ready?
Comments? Deputy Mayor?
Yes, oh, sorry. Is that Mark Schwartz?
No. Ellie?
I think it's a great idea. I've seen my therapist and I'm ready to part with this building. And let me know when. We'll knock it down and enjoy that open space.
Councilmember Kaplan?
I have read the minutes of this building and people have been trying to take it down since before any of us were alive. I voted in favor of taking it down before. I will do so again. I do not believe it will ever come down.
Manager?
Yeah, we incorporated monies into the 2019 budget for its removal. Of course, I think it was going to run us 18,000 for demolition, but the bigger cost was the asbestos removal and having a licensed company come in to do that. We already shut off the utilities there, so that's not a problem. There is no monies in the 2020 budget for removal, so we will have to include that in the 2021 budget.
All right.
And just get updated prices for removal and for the asbestos removal as well, the demolition and the asbestos removal.
So can we make a motion here to charge the manager to include the demolition of the PAL building in the 2021 budget?
Mayor, can I just jump in just on the legal end of this for 1 second?
Sure, go ahead.
Because I just want everybody to, we've been down this road before. So this was requested at the last council meeting that I look into this, and I did. The PAL building is a designated portion of Eleanor Kislak Park, and so it is included in our ROSI, the Recreation and Open Space Inventory, and as funded parkland with the partial improvement, and it is subject to Green Acres rules and regulations. That being said, we went through all the Green Acres rules and regulations, and the way that we believe it, the demolition and removal of the building will not constitute what they call a diversion of the parkland, a change in use, or the construction of a new building. Those all require pre-approvals. That all being said, I still suggest and recommend, and I actually have reached out to Green Acres already to just ensure that we have their consent and sign off before this building gets touched, because the last time something like this went down, Green Acres tried to hold it up for months at a time.
Okay. Do you have any idea, John, when you get that information back?
I expect we're going to get a pretty timely response because we've been working pretty closely with Green Acres since for the last 8 or 9 months on different projects, and they've been very responsive. So I expect we'll hear soon. I wanted to make sure that I was clear on all the rules and regulations with respect to this property before we reached out to them. And as I indicated, there was some question as to whether or not it was part of the Green Acres land in the town and whether it was subject to those rules. There's no question it is. But that being said, because of the size of the demolition and because it's going to promote the use of existing passive recreational parkland, it's not a change in use. It's still the same use that it was there for in the first place. The building was there as part of the recreational parkland, and if it comes down, it's still going to be the same.
I'm sorry. So wait, could you use most money then?
Can we use?
My understanding is we can use most money to take it down.
Based on everything you just said, I'm sorry, and I waited to say this. Based on everything you just said, I think you fully described the need for the requisite requirements for use of most money. So you can just say yes.
You're asking my legal opinion, Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
I mean, yeah, that's, you know.
If,
That's why you're here.
legally, the most account is for municipal, the improvement of municipal open space is one of the allowed purposes of most funds, yes. And that's certainly.
Manager, is that something we can do, that we can go over there tonight and knock it down?
Not yet.
Asbestos.
Okay, but you understand the concept.
Okay. All right, so as soon
Most
as you
money.
back from Green Acres, we'll move something to put it in the 2021 budget and just kind of flag it, because I think regardless of when he gets the answer, we probably want to do it. Okay. Item 2, Eleanor Killichek Park, safe in and out from Route 4, West Ramps, Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes, on the similar note of this park, right now, the Route 4 entrance and exit to Route 4 West off Bell Avenue at this park is a literally 90-degree turn. I love, this is like a 10-year project. This will take the state 10 years to even look at. If there's an email, a letter we can send pending review for them, now that the PAL building would no longer be in its way, if they can do something to help the suicidal entry and exit rates. I mean, it is, I mean, I say it's an accident waiting to happen, but it's not, because it's been accidents upon accidents upon accidents. So I love if it would be a diversion from the rust from the park, and we'll have to give land back as a result, which I already have land that we can give for that. But I'd like if we can pen a letter to the state DOT, ask them to take a look at the on and off ramps once that building comes down.
Okay, I'll take care of that. They've been actually pretty responsive to me, DOT, on the issue down by Decatur Avenue. And although we didn't get the answer we wanted on Route 4 West for the guardrail by, is it Wilson Avenue, they did respond to me fairly quickly. So I will pen out a letter to DOT and see what they say.
Okay. All right, item 3, nomination, Danielle Thompson, Hackensack River Greenway Advisory Board.
Yes, first I want to apologize to Miss Danielle Thompson. I think she had applied to us. We interviewed her some time ago. But with the reorg, she never actually got nominated. So I would like to have her nominated this evening to be a part of the Hackensack River Greenway Advisory Board, and making sure that Marie Warnicki would then be advised of her her appointment.
Okay,
Sounds good to me.
any objection? Okay,
Yeah, and again, I just wanted to reiterate, this is something that we had just basically omitted. She had been interviewed, and when I spoke to Doug to follow up, she required, it seemed like things somehow got lost in translation with the reorg.
I would just ask that when the subcommittee meets, I think Deputy Mayor, you said you're meeting on Thursday, just make sure that the head count for this committee jives with the number of people. What we're finding, and Doug did extensive work on trying to put this together, that there was some that had people we didn't even know about that were members. Some didn't have enough members. It was a little bit over, all over the place. So he's done a list of them. I don't remember off the top of my head if it was one of the ones that were at issue. But Doug, if you could share that with the subcommittee, if you haven't already, and make sure that that's just taken care of and looked at as you your recommendations.
And that's the advisory board application list, right? The application.
Right. Yeah, the one that you and I discussed Friday, I think it was.
Okay, cool. And I just wanted to confirm Councilwoman Rami Rice's nomination. So then that means that we will have a resolution for the next meeting, and I'll work with legal on that.
Correct. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, number 4, street renaming, Queen Anne Road and Wall Raven Drive, Lazy Green Way, Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes. Okay, so I have the next 2. As you may recall, I believe it was 2 years ago that we set aside honorary street renamings for our stores having anniversaries. And I have 2 anniversaries coming up that I'd like to discuss. Unfortunately, the one name I don't have on this list is Bischoff's. I've met with Bischoff's. I've met with Councilwoman Organ and Councilwoman Pagan. We've met with them again with the ownership. And their quote was, "The only name we need is hanging right here," and pointing to their name above their sign. So we're not going to give that up, but right now Bischoff's is refusing to have a name in their honor, quite modest, so I have to give them that. The two names I have on under our street renaming ordinance are as follows. One on the east side, on the east side of Queen Anne Road at Warrior Drive. The west side would be Lazy Bean Way. Lazy Bean is hitting their 20th anniversary, coming up as a mainstay of a coffee shop in the area. We'd like to honor them with a 20-year anniversary sign. The second name is for the Bespoke Barbershop, but a little history on Dre. Dre Perrin is a 1994 Teaneck High School graduate. He started cutting hair when he was 13 years old. He then went on to open up several hair cutting hair places in Teaneck. He's has also trained approximately 3 additional store owners in barbershop and how to run barbershops, how to cut hair. He has a following. Bespoke is celebrating their 5-year anniversary. So while we're going to be honoring them for their, or like to honor them for their 5th year anniversary, I also want to, give a thanks to Dre and everything he's done to bring a rise up to many of the young black barbershops that are barbers that he's really brought both in Teaneck and Englewood up their ranks and taught them the trade. So those are my 2 signs. Those are my 2 sign requests. And if I can have some nodding heads, that'll be on subsequent meetings that the clerk will handle.
I'll second.
Any objection? Okay, let's
Mr.
move
Mayor?
forward.
No,
Yeah.
no objection, but just a question. We had discussed many times in the past about any criteria, and I guess it was just left up to council's discretion, and I guess that remains the case in terms of any criteria for street namings. Is that still the case?
That is correct. The criteria was a council nodding heads. That's that's from approximately 2017. I think, Mr. Kaplan, it was before your time, although you know the ordinance well, I believe. And the concept was that if 4 council members vouched for it, obviously it was also anniversary based. It's not going to be your 6-month anniversary. It was 5, 10, 15, 20 years and beyond. This past week we did Dougie's Alley, which was 20 years. And now we're looking at both a 5-year and a 20-year as well.
And to be clear, this is an honorary street renaming for a limited time period to recognize longstanding members of the community. In 2015, this was originally incarnated for individuals in the community, people we've done like Mr. Pezant, Lizette Parker, several members of the community as well. And this was an addition, as you correctly mentioned, Deputy Mayor, for businesses with longstanding ties in the community. And I think if 4 members of council can make or change the policy, there shouldn't be any reason why 4 members of the council couldn't figure out who the longstanding members are to award a temporary honorary street renaming.
And just a heads up for the next meeting, I'm going to be having 2 additional signs put on, both for reverends in our town on 2 separate churches as well. But I'm putting together their CV, both their resume, I guess, to report back to town for the work that these pastors and reverends have done. But I'll be back with that on the 22nd.
If one ain't Father Joe, you better take it home.
It's not Father Joe yet, but he's coming up in next year, as a matter of fact.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz, I just want to
Yes.
confirm that you'll build the bridge between me and these 2 establishments so we could get the details about the unveiling and all that.
As always, but I believe first it goes to the next meeting first, and then we'll build the bridge thereafter. Yes.
All right, we'll catch up. Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Oregon, and then Deputy Mayor Kent. Karen, you're muted.
Sorry. I think it's a wonderful idea, especially now when it's so hard for some businesses to stay open, that we celebrate the ones that have been here for a long time. And if anybody knows of any business that's been around that they would like us to honor, please reach out. It was quite a conversation with Bischoff's, and there are other businesses in town that have been here a long time, and they should be honored.
So who's taking this on? Who should people reference?
Any council member can do
Anyone.
this. Any council member, they can bring it to. There's no committee for this.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yes. At one point we spoke about, I don't know if it was put in there, about having a ability for the person that's being honored to be able to buy the sign from the town
Yes,
afterwards?
that still exists. That still does exist.
It's in there. We have a $50
Yes,
fee.
it's in the resolution as well, absolutely.
Okay, fine. I think that's important that you let them know that afterwards they can purchase it. And,
Absolutely.
all right, thank you.
All right. Seeing no more discussion. Move on. Item 6, cancer awareness flag. Councilmember Organ.
So October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I just wanted to read some statistics. As of January 2020, there are more than 3.5 million women with a history of breast cancer in the United States. Almost 300,000 new cases of breast cancer are expected to be diagnosed in women in the US in 2020, and over 40,000 women are expected to die from breast cancer in 2020. Almost 3,000 men will be diagnosed with breast cancer this year. 1 in 8 women will develop invasive breast cancer in the course of her lifetime. In women under 45, breast cancer is most common in Black women and higher in Ashkenazi Jewish women. And most breast cancers are found in women over 50. On a personal level, my mother is a 2-time survivor of breast cancer, and my sister and I are tested annually. And I know that we're all overwhelmed with COVID-19, and we need to be vigilant and protect ourselves from that. But that doesn't mean that we should do it at the risk of our other health issues. And I feel, especially this year, it's very important that we fly the pink flag so that people understand that they still need to go for their annual screenings. They need to keep up with their mammograms and their sonograms and colonoscopies and any other health-related tests that they may have been avoiding because of COVID. Radiology centers are open and they're clean and they're safe, and doctors' offices are open and hospitals are open, and COVID's going to be here for a while. And it's very important that we remind people that they need to take care of their overall health. So this year in particular, I think it's very important that we start by flying this flag in October.
Discussion.
My head's nodding. And my mother's a survivor also, so thank you very much, Councilwoman Organ, for bringing this to our attention. If there's something we can do.
I'm in favor.
Yeah, I'm certainly in favor too, Councilmember Organ. I just, for a process standpoint, you're going to need to help the manager and the clerk with which flag is appropriate. And what we've done with the pride flag is that we've raised it at the Sportsplex, and we also draped one this year over the front door of the Teaneck Town Hall. So just so you know, so I would say connect with Doug and Dean, and sounds like I see everybody shaking their head. So I'm assuming we're okay, and
Go for it. Yep.
make it happen.
We'll pick a good one.
Okay, thank you. And don't go away, Councilmember Organ. Tree Task Force.
Yeah, I'm gonna become the tree lady. The cleanup is almost over from Isaiah's, and I'd like to move forward with a plan for our shade trees. We are Tree City USA, and Teaneck is beautiful because of its trees, but our trees are old and our trees are huge. And in walking around after the storm, people were pointing out trees all over the place that they were worried about. And so I spoke with the manager and we discussed forming a task force, not a subcommittee, because it should have a finite goal, but a task force that would be comprised of the manager, the director of public works, our arborist, the attorney, and 3 members of council, so that we can come up with a practical plan to protect the trees while protecting our citizens and their property. We would need to work on a maintenance budget and our code and policies as they relate to trees. So I would love to sit on that, and I would love 2 other members of council who might be interested to join me.
Discussion.
I'm interested.
I'm there for the code.
I'm sorry, I'm not volunteering to be on the thing. I mean, I have no problem serving on it. I just want to make sure that we don't step on the Shade Tree Advisory Board, and that maybe we run it by them to see if they have any suggestions or ideas, just so that we don't, offend our volunteers.
I'll
I
just,
think- sorry.
If I could chime in for a second, I was the liaison to the Shade Tree Advisory Board for the last 2 years, and Councilman Pagan is right now. They are all about the trees being well maintained and appropriately so, because if the community is not sufficiently in favor of how we take care of the trees, they don't want more of them. And that's the
No,
baseline of.
I don't disagree with the content or the concept. I love the concept. I'm just talking about the procedure, so that we don't get an email tomorrow from the Shade Tree Advisory Board unless somebody spoke to them already, saying, "Oh, well, how come nobody talked to us? How come blah blah blah?" What are we here for?
Councilmember Organ.
They would definitely be included, but there are aspects of this now which are different. It's going to include budgeting and it's going to include ordinances. And so we wouldn't want to step on toes. This would just take it in a different direction.
Yeah, I agree with all of it. I think it's a great idea, but I also think it's highly important that we involve that advisory board early, so that they understand that they are part of the process, and that their role or their input is not getting usurped. We've spent a long time with these advisory boards trying to get things going, and we're just starting in our infancy with trying to take them in new directions. And I don't want to see anybody disenfranchised at all by what is good action on the part of the council. But let's make sure that they're involved as much as we possibly can get them.
Mayor,
Well, hey, Karen, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I just, when this issue is concluded, I want to go back to the last issue about the flag for 1 second.
When it comes to trees, Karen, remember we reached out to them. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me? Karen,
Yeah.
Remember how we reached out to them recently
Mike,
on
yeah.
would it reach out to them together? We could try reaching out to them tomorrow if you like.
Yeah, that sounds great. Or moving forward. And it's good because Councilman Pagan is also their liaison. So that would be helpful if he worked on this.
Okay.
Yeah,
so-
let's do it tomorrow. Let's do it tomorrow. Let's reach out tomorrow.
Okay, so we're good with creating the task force. Okay. John, you had something about the previous?
Yeah, so when the council passed ordinance 28-2019, which was the flag ordinance, or amended the flag ordinance and the display on flagpoles, it does require a resolution to display alternative flags on the township property. So what I was hearing, or what I think I saw from the council, was that Councilwoman Organ was making a motion to add a resolution to the agenda tonight to fly the breast cancer awareness flag. So if she'd like to do that and articulate that, I think that's what needs to be done, to add that to the agenda, and then get a second, and then that will be added by the clerk at the time of the
Okay,
agenda.
Councilmember Organ,
I'll make a motion to fly the breast cancer awareness flag that will be chosen by myself and the manager for the month of October to honor Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Second.
Deputy Mayor Katz seconds, discussion. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
We'll add this to the consent agenda when the time comes this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilman Organ. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Next item is resolution in support of forum. Councilmember Kaplan.
Yes, thank you. Obviously, many members in town are aware of the forum, how important the forum is in terms of the work they do for the town. Recently, the Board of Ed spent a considerable amount of time speaking about it. Many parents came out talking about it because there's been a loss of funding for the forum. So I've taken the liberty of drafting up a resolution to request that our state liaisons from the governor, Loretta Weinberg, who not only is the Senate Majority Leader, but lives here in town, and several others take up the cause to reinstate funding for the forum. And if everybody has had a chance to take a look at it in the packet, I'm requesting an agenda motion to add it to the consent agenda.
Discussion.
just in point of discussion that our Senator Weinberg has been very vocal about supporting this. So I just wanted that to be for the record because that is mentioned in the resolution. And thank you for crafting this, Keith.
Thank you.
Other discussion? Any objections to moving forward with it? Okay, seeing none, then Keith? Draft a resolution.
Oh, it's in the packet, so we could just
Oh, you
add it
want
to the
to know?
consent
Oh,
agenda.
okay.
Yeah, it's a motion to add to the consent agenda.
Gotcha. Yep.
I think we need a second on that motion, correct?
Second.
Well, if it's already in the packet,
Well, it was in the packet under council listed because at the time we didn't have procedurally, we'll make an agenda motion to add it to the consent.
all right, we got a second. Who was second?
That was Councilman Bagan. All in favor? Nodding head. Cool.
Opposed?
So,
So carried.
Aye.
so just like Councilwoman Organ with her request, we'll add this to the consent agenda also. I'll give them the consecutive numbers when we get there.
Okay. And then finally, I wanted to walk in what we discussed previously in terms of nominating Dr. Ken Hoffman for the chairperson for most advisory board. Any objections? Seeing none, okay.
I'll second it.
Thank you. If we can do a resolution, Doug, at the next meeting.
I shall work with legal on that one also.
Okay, thank you. And so that's it. So we're down to Township Manager's Report. Dean,
Thank you, Mayor. Again, many thanks to our Department of Public Works for their efforts with the tropical storm cleanup. It was a tremendous job they did for the town and the residents. They're pretty much done with that final cleanup. Just to update everyone, during the storm, we lost 140 trees. That doesn't include the branches and large limbs that fell in that short period of time. Sidewalks were damaged in over 40 locations. The storm required outside tree contractors with cranes at an estimated cost of $110,000. Cleanup of resident debris required additional contractors supplying dump trucks, chipping crews, front end loaders, of course, for 3 weeks at an estimated cost of $200,000. The debris was ground on site to reduce the size by about 2/3, and it was removed at an estimated cost of $130,000. Sidewalk repair, stump removal, and final grading at 40 locations will be about $50,000. Additionally, public works crews worked 1,100 hours of overtime at a cost of $55,000, bringing the total storm cost to roughly $545,000. Again, we have good records of all the expenditures, and we'll certainly try to recover them through a FEMA event. I'm not sure how long it's going to take to get that money back, but we have all of our records, and we will make sure that we get the paperwork done timely. I'm happy to report that our first, second, and third quarter property tax collection remains steady and had a total variance of only minus 0.19%. I was originally concerned, and I told council about third quarter collection, but we took in 0.0166% less than what we did in 2019. So we actually did very well. I'm very happy, very pleased. We have seen some revenue deficits due to the pandemic. They, of course, include the hotel occupancy tax, the recreation program fees, which was a big one. Of course, the uniform construction code permits and municipal court fines. Construction revenues have been on the rise since June, and the hotel occupancy tax is slowly increasing on a monthly basis. Again, I'm comfortable where we are at to cover our expenses for the remainder of the year. Keep in mind, we have not been reimbursed for any COVID and storm-related expenses. The COVID expenditures, roughly $65,000, and that covers equipment and costs. And right now, the CFO, Mr. Abbasi, and myself, we are trying to recover through our insurance carrier, the Bergen CARES Act, and FEMA. Again, those resources should allow us to recover a good portion of our COVID and storm-related expenses. Like to say, I believe we exercise responsible spending during the pandemic, but may still need a bond anticipatory note to cover revenue losses. Assembly Bill 3971 allows municipalities that require money because of a loss of revenue, unanticipated expenses, or both, which are attributable to COVID-19 pandemic, to actually borrow money and authorize and issue coronavirus relief bonds under the local bond law without any down payment, and it's payable over a 5-year period of time. So we do have that option in case we need it. This is my monthly reminder, as the mayor said earlier, to sign up for Township Alerts. The Township of Teaneck offers several ways to get important information to the residents. Again, by signing up for these alerts, you'll stay informed of what's happening in and around Teaneck. And you have to sign into the township's website at www.teanecknj.gov and click on the Sign Up for Township Alerts tab, which is on the left side of our homepage. It's not too late to complete your 2020 census. I know we mentioned this before. You can complete your form online, by phone, or by mail. The current deadline to respond to the 2020 census is September 30th. And getting back to what Councilwoman Oregon mentioned about trees, we put $100,000 in our 2021 budget for safety pruning of trees. We're in the process of securing the services of a crane for roughly a month period of time to assist with the removal of trees, which remain on our removal list. Again, we carry probably 200 on the list at any given time. There's probably, we're in excess of 200 right now due to the storm. The heavy crane will allow us to remove approximately 60 trees in that 1 month period of time. And again, it's expensive. The cost of the crane for this period is about $25,000. When the work is complete, we're going to make a decision whether we should continue it for another month. Tryon Avenue road resurfacing and traffic calming striping was complete. It looks very nice. If you haven't had a chance to go down Tryon by Bryan School, please take a look at it. Costing out traffic calming striping for the remainder of Garrison Avenue with thermoplastic paint. We should be able to accommodate this request before the weather gets too cold. Another area that's of concern, again, is by Teaneck Road in Westervelt. The county put in a do not block the box road sign, which is still problematic for the residents trying to leave Westervelt and go south on Teaneck Road. I spoke with our engineering department today, and they have been in contact with county engineering to try to come up with alternate measures to make it safe for the residents to make that left turn from Westervelt onto Teaneck Road South. So we are working on that. As the mayor mentioned, we're having a shredding event this weekend, 9 a.m. to 1 or until the truck is filled. It's important for residents to know that due to COVID-19, we ask that all residents adhere to the guidelines to ensure this is a safe and successful day. They include remaining in your vehicle at all times, having a paper in a cardboard box or paper bag, and a DPW worker will come to your vehicle to get your paper out from your car. Please have your box or bag to be shredded in an easily accessible location, such as the trunk or back seat. Again, this will allow our public works staff to retrieve your items safely. The Township's annual garage sale again takes place this weekend. To sign up, please go to our website. There's an interactive map that will show the locations of the homes participating in the event. September 8th through 15th is the Teaneck Restaurant Week, as the mayor mentioned earlier. We're having the commemoration ceremony on Friday to honor the memory of the Teaneck residents who died in the 9/11 terrorist attacks. The ceremony is going to begin at 8:40 a.m. in a parking lot, the municipal building. Congressman Gottheimer will be there as well, including the mayor, and we do have a guest speaker that will be there who was in New York at the Twin Towers on 9/11. The new exercise fitness facility, Voti Park, is complete. I think it came out excellent. I'm getting a lot of good positive feedback from that. It was about 2 years in the planning, but really came out well. I directed our engineering department to conduct a study on the replacement of the Voti Park swimming pool. I'm looking to replace the pool, which is over 30 years old. We're having a lot of problems with it. And also the proposal would be to provide bathrooms, a shower rinse, locker cubicles for pool goers and our recreation staff. And I'll report back to council as soon as I get that from engineering. We have secured pricing for resealing and striping the municipal parking lot behind Glad Express. Again, that's another project we should be able to get done before the cooler temperatures settle in. And again, it's going to increase, as I previously reported, our parking capacity from 71 to 94 spaces. Another problem area is Phelps and Bennett Road. I get emails about this location, and we are adding inlets to that intersection. This is part of the 2019 road resurfacing project, so that will be done soon. We have commenced 2019 road resurfacing, and that includes 14 streets. The street order is listed on our website under engineering projects. And everything should be done townwide within the next 4 weeks. The fire department, I'm happy to announce, will be accepting the delivery of 2 new fire trucks tomorrow. They will not be in service right away. Both of these units will be equipped with rescue equipment, allowing for enhanced rescue resources in town. Previously, we only had 1 rescue truck, but now we have 2 trucks that will be equipped with the gear we need in the event of a crisis. As I mentioned to council, the police department continues with their evaluation of body cameras. We have a particular vendor in mind. The body cameras being tested would integrate nicely with our current car cameras, and I'm pushing this project along with the police chief, and I'm hopeful we'll have this in place by the end of the year. The Bergen County Police Academy is also mandating de-escalation training for all new recruits. That's starting at the next academy class in 2021. They're also holding a train-the-trainer class on de-escalation, and that person will be assigned from our municipality and all 70 municipalities in the county, and they will come back and train every member of our police department as well. However, we take this very serious, and we have had many members of the police department participate in de-escalation techniques or verbal judo. The police department has done a great job with getting most of their officers trained, but this will be a requirement for new recruits. Rapid flashing beacon installation is going to start this week and should be completed at the end of next week. Again, there are 5 locations, crosswalks, that will be addressed. We'll be moving some of those LED pedestrian crossing signs. The first set will go down, the LED crossing signs will go down by the movie theater, but we do have, again, 5 rapid flashing beacon sets going in at different intersections in town. Tomorrow morning, for anyone interested, we're having a swearing in promotional ceremony on the municipal green at 10 a.m. for the 9 firefighters and 6 police officers that were recently promoted. Normally we do the swearing in the council chambers, but due to COVID-19, we're going to hold it outdoors. So that begins at 10 o'clock on the municipal green tomorrow. And that's the end of my report, Mayor.
Any council, any questions of the manager?
I would just say I'm very happy to hear about the fire trucks, especially our collection numbers. And I think the overall position we're in is a testament to the town's leadership. And I just want to continue to thank you for what you've been doing to get us to this point.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor?
Mr. Manager, what did you say the situation is on Cedar Lane regarding those cones by the bridge by CSX?
Okay, yeah, that's a county project. And again, I've been on them. I believe Senator Weinberg's office has been on the county as well. I can't get an answer when work is going to begin. It's problematic for the town. It's problematic for traffic. It backs traffic up. We're trying to get an answer as to when they're going to start this project.
What would preclude us from having our police department remove the cones until they're ready to start the project again?
I believe that area, the reason why it's shut down is because it's compromised. So I do not want to remove any cones, barricades that were set up by county engineering.
Any other questions of the manager?
Well, can we write them? I mean, I don't know how else, what else do we do? I mean, I'm getting so many complaints about that. It looks like we're doing it, but we're not.
No, yeah, again, it's a county project. You know, we have our engineering has spoke to their engineering department. I've called over. It's difficult to get a date when they're going to begin the actual work. It's been, I believe the work has been assigned to Sanzari, but I have no idea when they're going to start the project or what the delay is.
So,
Hey, Dean, I'll try reaching out to the county tomorrow as well, see if I can help get some answers.
Okay, all right,
okay,
great.
that's a good idea.
Okay. All right. Township Attorney's report.
There's no report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay,
All is well.
all is well. All right, move on to meeting items and public hearing and adoption of ordinances. Doug, you want to read them in?
Absolutely. Give me 1 minute. This evening, for second reading, we are considering ordinance number 17-2020, amending section 36-11. Chapter 36, entitled Traffic of the Township Code, adding restricted on-street parking spaces for handicapped.
Doug, you're breaking up.
1 second, let me get a little closer to the computer here. I'll read that one once more. Please cut me off again if you cannot hear me. Ordinance number 17-2020, adding section 36-11.2 of Division 1 of Article 2 of Chapter 36, entitled Traffic of the Township Code, adding restricted on-street parking spaces for the handicapped at 1648 Shelbourne Street. Ordinance number 18-2020, amending section 36-15.1 of Division 2 of Article 2 of Chapter 36, entitled Traffic of the Code of the Township of Teaneck, amending prohibited parking between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. except Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays along a portion of Lincoln Place. Ordinance number 19-2020, an ordinance authorizing a special emergency appropriation pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-53, Section H, for the payment of contractually required severance liabilities of the Township of Teaneck, County of Bergen, New Jersey. And finally, ordinance number 20-2020, an ordinance establishing positions and salary ranges for executive, managerial, professional, and confidential employees and for unclassified municipal employees in the Township of Teaneck, effective July 1, 2020. Did you
Okay.
get all that?
All right, we'll open it now to a public hearing on all these items. So if anybody wants to speak about these items, please. Hold on. Okay.
Miss Gordon?
And this is just about the ordinances for adoption. This is not good and welfare. This is just for the ordinances for adoption.
Miss Gordon, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hello, Miss Gordon. Give us 1 second. You have 3 minutes. I just want to remind everybody that the 3 minutes is going to be very firm. We'll give a couple seconds for some technology lag. We get it on Zoom. But if you go too far past 3 minutes, say 3 minutes, 5 seconds, I'm unfortunately going to need to mute you so we continue with the business of the meeting. I'm just giving you a heads up, Miss Gail Gordon. I'm starting your 3 minutes right now.
We see the speaker.
Wait, hang on. Ms. Gordon, hang on. Let me restart your time. Yes, you are welcome to share your screen if you are comfortable, members of the public.
Oh, well, it may not be appropriate that I speak at this time because I wanted to comment on the naming of streets.
That's true.
Yeah, that's for good and welfare, Ms. Gordon.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Nothing on the ordinances?
No.
Okay, cool. I'm going to demote you back to attendee and feel free to raise your hand once more once we open up good and welfare, which will be after this.
Okay, you ready, Doug?
Yeah, wait, hang on. I got somebody here. Mr. Alan Stone. Mr. Alan Stone, if you are comfortable, you are welcome to share your screen. Mr. Alan Sohn?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, sir. I'm starting your 3 minutes.
This is regarding ordinance 19-2020, kicking the can on severance liabilities. In baseball, they say, wait until next year. You can lose a World Series and next year you start the season with a clean slate. Not so in any kind of real world budgeting, certainly not in municipal budgeting. We're paying this year for the tens of millions borrowed in past years, just as we're paying the price this year to clean up all the fallen branches and trees that were never trimmed in years past. Until 2 years ago, TNEC paid in the budget all terminal leave liability to retiring employees for unused sick, vacation, and holiday pay earned up to 25 years ago. The 0% budget passed in 2018 included $750,000 for severance payments to retirees. In a cynical effort to pretend the 0% budget was being passed, this council cut that budget line in 2019 from $750,000 to $1 single dollar. This council then declared a false emergency and passed ordinances to borrow more than $1.3 million to pay retiring employees. Ordinance 19-2020, to be passed tonight, declares another very planned and very phony emergency to borrow another $1.2 million for employees who retired so far this year. COVID was an emergency. Tropical Storm Isaias was an emergency. Severance payments for employees was only an emergency due to failure by this council to plan for the eventual retirement of employees who worked for the township for decades. How will this impact our present and future? No one knows. Last year was a good year pre-COVID, yet the annual financial statement showed that the township's fund balance, the net amount of money we have, assets minus liabilities, was down $700,000, a drop of 10%. This year will be a terrible year. If only we residents knew just how bad and had some idea of how we're doing across the entire budget.
1
Yet
minute,
this
Mr.
township
Sohn.
does not provide on its website a single report showing how we're doing on actuals compared to budgets. If Moody's was kept in the dark, we residents know that there are huge bills on the way. Millions would be due very soon to pay the Glen Point tax appeals. The pedestrian bridge over the railroad tracks connecting BF and Votee will cost millions, and the replacement for the dated and unsafe DPW building on River Road will be millions. We already have tens of millions of debt and added
30
in
seconds,
years,
Mr.
and
Sohn.
debt has been rising faster in the past 2 years than at any time in township history. Since 2018, this township council has not provided the public with a single current financial statement showing how actual income and expenses compare to the budget
10
amounts.
seconds, Mr. Sohn.
What is being hidden from them? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sohn. Give me 1 second here. Hang on. Thank you, Mr. Sohn. Mr. Art Vatsky, again, you have 3 minutes. You are welcome to share your screen if you are comfortable. Let me hear you, Mr. Vatsky. I haven't started your timer just yet. Mr. Vatsky?
Yes,
All right, you have 3 minutes, sir.
okay, may I begin?
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to ask about the town attorney's visual view.
No, ordinances.
Ordinances, Mr. Vatsky.
These are ordinances, just the ordinances, Art.
Okay, I thought it was on good and welfare then.
We're not
No,
good on.
that's coming right after this, Mr. Vatsky.
Okay, I leave for now. I'll be right back.
We look
Okay.
forward to hearing from you again, sir.
Thank you, Doug.
All right, Doug, are you letting them in or am I letting him in?
I got him in. I got him in. We have a Chuck here. You need to unmute whoever Chuck is. Oh, Dr. Powers, hello. You
Hi,
have-
how are you? I'm going to follow up on what Mr. Sones asked about question 19, 2020, and the $1.2 million we're adding to the $1.4 million we asked as an emergency appropriation last year. I'm hoping that we can get additional clarity beyond what I just heard the mayor, the manager tell us about the status of the current budget and the fact that we are almost certain to be asking for additional additional money to bond to cover COVID costs. We really have seen nothing since the February developed budget that helps us understand this. One of the things that's included in this ordinance is preparation for layoffs for people who may be laid off in this year. Is that actually something that the township does anticipate doing? And is this going to be the end of it in terms of what we will be needing to support the money earned over the last 25 years by current employees who are either retiring or being laid off at this point? If we can have additional clarity about that, to add to what Mr. Sohn said, it's very important to understand every other jurisdiction, certainly our county and certainly our state, are going through enormous problems in trying to formalize budgets. And we've heard nothing about the current budget and the relationship of this particular ordinance to the status of the current fiscal situation of the township. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Powers.
Thank you, Dr. Powers. I don't see anyone else currently for the ordinances, sir.
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor?
Who was that? Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Kaplan.
I just wanted to make a comment about 19 since several others have. If you'd like me to wait till later, that I can do it then or now, whatever your
Oh, that's
pleasure.
fine. You can make it now.
I just want to say that the ordinance is references the state statute. It's 40A 4-53H. And the word layoff is part of the statute, which I'm sure this commenter knows. It says a local unit may adopt an ordinance authorizing special emergency appropriations, which is a state term of art, for carrying out any of the following purposes. And it references age, contractually required severance liabilities. All this is. All it is that if you generally have your workforce spread out over time, they retire in increments over time, you pay out your severances like normal. Every now and then, they bunch up and you have a ton of employees that retire in a very small window. So the state has a statute specifically for this instance, which lets you pay it out over 5 years at 0% interest rate. And to claim that this is anything other than appropriate use of a state statute that is made for this specific purpose, and to use words in the statute to claim layoffs or whatever they're trying to, I mean, it's enough that I had to make a comment, but I'll just leave it there.
Mr. Councilman Kaplan?
Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, I'm just going to readdress that. There is no interest on this money. We would be doing the wrong thing by the taxpayers if we don't do this. But we've already said this before, and they'll bring it up again. That's just a way of just attacking us as the two do. So I think
is in the statute as well.
Yeah, without interest. So just understand something. I'll say it slowly. Without interest. Mr. Manager, thank you very much for the financial report you gave as it relates to where we stand with the budget. It was pretty comprehensive. And I guess the speeches were written before you gave that report. Can I ask a question though? And it was a very good comment by Mr. Sohn. Do other towns do any year-to-date budget updates or variance reports? And I guess similar in business, we do that, but do other towns, is that a practice in New Jersey? It's something I'm not aware of, but is there a practice in New Jersey to give trends and variances year to date on the current budget, or that's not something that's done in New Jersey municipalities?
I'm not aware that it's done, and anyone can certainly call my office if they need information.
Well, no, if they're right. So if there's another town that's doing it, something I'd like us to do. But if there is no town doing that, then I guess we're not going to do a shareholder budgetary reports, because that's what we have our CFO do. So I appreciate that, and I'm in favor of a roll call and putting through these ordinances.
Any other comments from council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that it's important that, in terms of our obligation to share information with our community and residents, that there was just an explanation of this ordinance, an appropriation of $1.2 million in terms of borrowing. And I think it was just important without just to be able to share what the details were, to make points of reference, to answer questions. And I think that we just owe it to our community to be able to answer those questions. That's all.
Anyone else? Okay. All right. Let's call the roll. Doug?
We need a
I will
motion
move-
to.
I will move to approve the ordinances as listed.
Second,
Second, roll call, Councilwoman Romney Rice,
yes.
Councilmember John,
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ,
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz,
Yes.
Mayor Levy.
Yes.
Ordinances 17 through 20-2020 adopted.
Doug, you're breaking up again.
Sorry that my hand was over the microphone. Ordinances 17 through 20-2020 adopted.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we move to public welfare, good and welfare. Put your hand up if you want to be recognized, and we'll be recognizing you through that process. 3 minutes. We ask people if they can to turn on their cameras so we can see everybody. So we shall begin.
I believe I just brought in 1, 2, 3 Sandy. If my memory serves me correct, I believe that's Miss Silverberg.
It is.
All right, you got 3 minutes, Miss.
Thank you, Doug. Good evening, Council. Sandy Silverberg. I just wanted to give you an update on some of the things that the Friends of the Library are doing. As you know, we purchased some important equipment so we can share with our community the services that now people can have access to. And I also want to let you know that we are partnering with the food pantry and with the Cedar Lane Management Group. When the food pantry is nourishing the bodies of people, we're trying to also make sure that the soul is nourished. Books are being provided, and especially for children, we are providing books across the age groups for children. They can pick them up at the food pantry, and we just resupplied because there were so many used. We resupplied them last week, and there was one young man, 10 years old, whose eyes lit up when he could take a book, and he also was looking very hard at a second one. And I said, so you can take it, you can have that other book as well. And it was worth everything. And I want to give a shout out to the Cedar Lane Management Group that was able to provide to me to give to the food pantry some PPE, some masks, and also some hand sanitizers. So to let you know that there are groups of people out there trying to pick up the slack and trying to help each other. And if anyone is out there listening about the Friends of the Library, I hope that you'll help to support us in this very difficult time. If you haven't thought about joining, maybe now is a really good time to join. Thank you, and have a peaceful night.
Thank you, Sandy. I see Miss Eliyahu here. Miss Eliyahu, I did receive your email. Just please try to keep this under 3 minutes.
I will do so. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, miss. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I'm reading this on behalf of Lois Corwin, who could not be here this evening. Honorable council members, this past week, I discovered that a check I mailed from the mailbox outside the Teaneck post office never reached its destination. I was trying to pay my cable bill and was defrauded of many thousands of dollars through what is called check washing. In that process, the cable company's name was washed off, as was all the other information on the check, including the amounts and my signature. This nearly wiped out my bank account. The funds went to a person I don't know, and I wonder if he or she even exists. Despite the obvious forgery of my name on the check, Bank of America cashed it. The bank representative immediately recognized that the writing was nothing like mine, but apparently the bank uses optical check reading and didn't pick it up. Naturally, I reported it to the bank and called the Teaneck police. A wonderful police officer came immediately and took my statement. He wanted to know all that I could remember about exactly when and where I had mailed the check. To my surprise, the officer disclosed that this kind of crime is quite prevalent in Teaneck, and presumably this information will help the police to watch boxes that might be hotspots. I may never know how this act was committed, but I think the citizens of Teaneck should be warned of the current danger of mailing a handwritten personal check in Teaneck. I believe a conversation between the police and the town manager could produce some effective plans of action to warn our residents and stop the criminal activity. I have some ideas. It would be a strong warning to residents, for example, if you warned them by robocall, as you do for impending bad weather, that there's been a rash of fraud involving checks being washed. This warning could contain a short description of what this means and some simple suggestions. In addition, there are some simple steps we can all take. Fraud prevention pens are relatively inexpensive and readily available online and in stores. One can also print only a first initial rather than one's full first name on a check, so a thief has to guess it. In this vein, when mailing a check, do not put your full name on the return address. Your last
30
name,
seconds, Miss Eliyahu.
your last name would be enough, or just the address. Ask your bank to verify with you when a check has been presented above a certain amount. Check washing is typically done for several $1,000s and above. When a check is washed, the victim is left to fight with the bank or other agencies to get the money covered, and that may not succeed. Sorry.
15 seconds, Miss Eliyahu.
Okay. Perhaps this information could also be posted on the town or police website with a hotline to report suspicious activity. It could include a crime blotter to publicize any new mail fraud and state when, where, and how they happened. The website could give residents information about how to protect themselves against this kind of fraud. Please give my situation consideration, not as a personal incident, but as a community
Period, Miss
issue.
Eliyahu.
Sorry, what?
Sorry, just please find a period. Sorry.
Okay. This trend in crime needs to be addressed immediately before others are made victims as I was. Yours truly, Lois Corwin. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you. Bye.
Mr. Howard Rose. Where's, do you want to show your screen, Mr. Rose? Can you hear me, Mr. Rose? Mr. Howard Rose, going once, going twice. Mr. Rose, I'm going to keep your hand raised and I'm going to come back to you. Art Vatsky. Art Vatsky, you're up. You have 3 minutes, sir. I didn't start the timer yet. Mr. Vatsky.
Yes,
Are you good to go, sir?
I am good to go.
All right, 3 minutes.
Okay. First, I want to mention something. I was surprised. I haven't been at a council meeting in quite a while. But our attorney, when he's on the screen, he has on a background advertising, or at least listing the name of his firm. That's advertising, and I don't know if the council has approved that, if we're getting any money for it, or if it should be removed. I leave it to the council's wisdom to decide what to do with it, but I have never seen a private firm advertised on the company, on the council website. Okay, that's one. I want to commend Councilmember Organ for her work on the PAL building. I can correct it in saying that it isn't just a decade that building has been sitting there essentially dormant. It's from the last century. It's closer to 30 years that people, residents of that neighborhood, have been asking for that building to be removed. I'd also say, again, and I had it ready to send, the Route 4 exit is a real minefield, Route 4 West. And it's a shame that we're gonna have to wait yet another 10 years to have it improved, okay? About trees, we're spending nearly $500,000 to repair the damage to our trees. I have a feeling that the township is severely underfunded in tree maintenance. We have over 100,000 trees. So, and they're older. And like older people, they need more care as they get older. So if you want to avoid injury and damage, put some money into preventative damage on the trees. The comments by Mr. Sohn, I support. We
1
really
minute,
don't
Mr.
know.
Vatsky.
What?
1 minute, Mr. Vatsky.
1 minute is good. We really don't know where the money is going, and we don't have a chance to follow it. It is originally our money, and it's hard to track. It's always been hard to track. I don't know about other towns, but I think Teaneck, to prove it's superior, as we say we are, we should be more open in how funds are being scheduled and set and how we're compared to goals and plans. I'll think of something later, but I'll let it go now. Meanwhile, I'm impressed with the progress the council has made. I'm impressed with the format of this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vatsky. Mr. Rose, I'm giving you another shot. Are you there? Mr. Rose. Going once, going twice. We will not forget about you, sir. We are here all night. Miss Gail Gordon. Miss Gail Gordon, need to unmute yourself. Miss Gail Gordon, need to unmute yourself. There you go. Can you hear me, Miss Gordon?
Yes, I can.
All right, cool. You have 3 minutes, miss.
I'm Dr. Gail Gordon, and I am with the East Votee Neighborhood Association. I'm uncomfortable with the street naming, renaming process, and especially with businesses and their anniversaries. I don't believe it's appropriate to name streets after businesses. And I don't know how long these streets will have a different name. And if a residential street is being proposed as having being renamed, I believe that the residents of that street need to be able to vote on whether they agree with it. I think this is a bigger thing than is being proposed or being discussed. I think it is symbolic of a lot of things and the sort of commercialization of our town. So I'm opposed to the renaming of those streets for a restaurant and a barber shop. That's all.
Thank you, Miss Gordon. Miss Linda Burns. Need to unmute yourself. If you are comfortable, you're welcome to share your video, Miss Burns.
Good evening. I have 4 points that I'd like to address. In order of importance. The first being the resolution regarding that Councilman Kaplan proposed, and I really appreciate it, for preserving the school board-based youth services program funding that Governor Murphy is trying to abolish. This important program is housed in the Teaneck High School Forum program, but it's not just for public school students, it's for every teenager in the township of Teaneck. And it's an important resource for teenagers seeking mental health resources. And it's especially important now in the time of COVID, where you really need to provide these services. So I would encourage every single person out there to reach out to Governor Murphy in the town hall that's coming up, or in emails or letters, to ask him to please keep this program going. And in addition to it, I understand that the Teaneck municipality has contributed a set amount of money to this program, but that money the dollar amount has been static ever since its inception. But the importance of the program has increased. So I'm wondering if the municipality could look for ways to increase the contribution or collaborate in sources of funding to get this important program to continue for all Teaneck youth, which is so important right now. The second point that I'd like to talk about is the...
You have 1 minute, Ms. Burns.
I'm sorry?
1 minute, Ms. Burns. I apologize.
Okay.
Ms. Burns, I've paused your time. You still have a minute.
Okay, did you hear the rest of that, what I said before?
Yes, yes, I did. I'm just
cool.
clarifying to you that you have another minute.
Thank you. So my second point is regarding the flag for the breast cancer awareness. I appreciate the fact that this is brought to the town council, but there are other things that were brought to town council, such as the Black Lives Matter mural and the gay pride flag. And each of those things were heavily contested due to legal concerns regarding allowing other people to fly their flags.
15 seconds, Ms. Burns.
Oh my God, what?
I paused your time again, Ms. Burns. I'm sorry. Every member of the public has 3 minutes, and we really need to try to keep that 3 minutes. You still have 15 seconds left.
Okay, but did you hear the other stuff I said?
Yes, about point 2 in the flags. I did.
Okay, cool. And I just want to make sure that the decision process is equitable. The third point I wanted to raise is regarding Votee Park. There's a lot of hardscaping going on in there, and pretty soon there's going to be very little open space left. I want to make sure that all the parks have an equitable resource allocation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burns. Again, I'm going to remind members of the public at this time, as we are getting through our good and welfare, that everyone has 3 minutes. And once you hit 3 minutes, 5 seconds, I'm going to need to mute you. Please don't take it personally. Reggie Pittman. Reggie Pittman,
Yes.
hello, sir.
Hi.
3 minutes.
Hi,
sir.
I'll adhere to your 3 minutes. I have a few points. One, for the street naming, I think it's a great idea. There's a gentleman that has a business called Novus Glass. It's on Queen Anne and State Street. His name is Artie. And it would be great if he's been in business for about 46 years or so. So that would be great if he could have an honorary street sign, however temporary it is. That's one thing. The other, the forum that was just mentioned, preservation of that. My children went through the high school, and it is something for the community. So the preservation of the forum would be great. And then we all know all lives matter. So we can't have all lives matter if Black lives don't matter. And the way the country is going right now, we think that Teaneck has always been a leader, and we want to continue to do that. So we want to make sure that we have a mural and that we move forward with that. And we look forward to working with the council because you all do volunteer your time, and we really do appreciate it. To look at having a mural for the town. So in order to say all lives matter, we have to include Black Lives Matter. Thank you.
Before you go, if you have contact info for Novus Glass, can you just?
Keith, let's not do it back and forth, please.
I was
No,
just
we do
asking.
back and forth. I made my note.
Thank you, Mr. Pittman. Novus Glass, if you'd like to send contact information to clerk@tnecnj.gov.
Thank you,
Mr. Pittman, for contributing. Javalda Powell.
Good evening.
Hello, 3 minutes, miss. If you're comfortable, you're welcome to share your video.
Yeah, my hair's not done. Sorry for that. If you would only interrupt me at 15 seconds, I'd appreciate that so I don't lose my flow.
Noted.
Thank you. So, Mayor, I just wanted to bring up the fact that one of the meetings that you forgot to mention was the Black Lives Matter Leadership Committee, that you did have that meeting last week with several members on our leadership team, along with Attorney Chedanian and the town manager. And some issues were brought up in terms of the process of putting a mural on the street as being problematic for a couple of reasons. But you did also discuss the fact that one way of getting around that was having it as an action and speech of the council, so that the council would be able to, if they wanted to, commission a Black Lives Matter street mural. And a suggestion was also made by a committee member that perhaps a task force could be formed to make sure that this happens. And I'm just wondering why that, we do want to hear more about that. We've been bringing this up. Over 3,000 people have signed a petition, and Puffin Foundation has also offered support and a grant in the amount of $1,000 towards this project. So this is kind of, dragging on, and not hearing about it, I think is a problem for us, because we really want the public to be really aware of everything that we have, going on in terms of this. We haven't forgotten, we haven't forgotten. And the weather is going to turn, and we would like to have this mural up within September. Also, we've given options. I mean, we've been flexible in terms of we've presented 2 designs. We've also presented alternate locations. If the problem is State Street, we were open to other things. So we'd like to see some movement on that front, and want to know from the council what the status is of our proposal. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Powell. I got another one coming up. Dr. Powers, give me 1 second, sir. Dr. Powers, you have 3 minutes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Acting Clerk, let me just talk. If you need to cut me off after 3 minutes, do that. But I don't need to have you interrupt me in the middle of it. I want to thank Councilman Kaplan for having raised the issue of the forum. It's extremely important that the township continue to support that, probably at a larger level than it has, since it's been so static for so long. But it's clear that we ought to be very actively supporting the efforts of Senator Weinberg and the 2 members of the Assembly, who are fighting very hard to get the governor to increase the amount of money available for programs like the forum. And I'm very glad to hear the council supporting it so actively. A second thing is, I'm disappointed that there's so little progress being made on the body cameras. I thought from what we had heard early in the summer that was going to have been established by September. It now appears it's not going to happen this year. I assume it's not part of the current budget. I don't understand why that is. It's extreme priority, as you said, Mr. Manager, and we're not making much progress on it. I want to raise a real question. There apparently are meetings of the Social Service Advisory Board and PPRAB tomorrow, but we have no members of those 2 advisory boards appointed. The ordinance that you folks passed in the last meeting says very clearly upon the the effective date of this ordinance, the terms of any members of council's advisory boards heretofore expire. That means we have no members of any advisory boards at this particular point, and how there can be meetings being called of those boards. As you just heard this evening, we don't have a chair of the most committee, and I'm trying to figure out what it is. I assume that you folks don't want to be scofflaws by calling for meetings that of advisory boards whose memberships cannot possibly exist at this point. There is a process through which you need to go, and I really advise you that that can be found at section F of the 15/2020 ordinance that you folks passed. And it certainly it certainly involves a much more complex process of appointing those members than you folks have acknowledged in the fact that you've scheduled 2 meetings to occur tomorrow. I also want to draw your attention to the fact that I was raising a question. I wasn't questioning whether or not that ordinance should be passed. I was saying, if in fact we are laying off people as that particular ordinance calls for, we ought to know that that is in fact happening in our town. And that would require a more complete budgetary analysis, as has been done at both the county and the state levels. The state hasn't actually set its budget for 2020. The county just passed its on the 29th of July. We established our budget way back before the COVID pandemic hit. We need to know what's happening in our town more explicitly than what the manager gave us information about tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Powers, for your contribution. Odine?
Yes.
Odine, thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my first point, I just like to second the comments made about the forum. You know, as a Teaneck High School graduate, I just like to say that the forum really made my high school experience just so much better in a variety of ways, especially as the mental health assistance that they offer, and also the field trips and everything. So I think we should continue to fight for that. And another thing we should continue to make action towards is the Black Lives Matter mural. As Ms. Powell mentioned earlier, we had a meeting with the town council, Mr. Shadanian, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, and Mr. Mayor. And you know, I think it's important just that we continue to work on that and get some action done, because you know, this is really the time before it gets too late. And yeah, those are my main concerns, but especially on the mural, we need to get something done now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have a number ending in 552. It's a call-in, so I don't have a name and I can't promote you to a panelist, so we cannot see your face, but that's all right. Number 552, you need to press *6, I believe, to speak. And we'll get 3 minutes, *6 or *9. Hello?
Yes,
Yes, hello. Please state your name for the record.
Natasha Pennell.
Ms. Pennell, you have 3 minutes.
You're going in and out. What was that?
You have 3 minutes, miss.
Okay, well, I first off would like to address the council on behalf of the Philip Pennell Foundation. On October 3rd of 2020 at 3 p.m., my mother and the foundation members, along with community members and residents of Teaneck and Inglewood and surrounding towns, will be gathering for the Tree of Healing Memorial in honor of Philip Pennell. So there's going to be a tree replanting actually, because there was a tree planted 30 years ago and someone dug it up, destroyed it, and they burned the shrub and just left it there. So 30 years later, my mom and I are planning on uniting the town and honoring my brother's memory as well. So we invite the city council to this event and would be honored to have the members there so that we can show that the town is trying to heal and we are trying to unify in such a way to honor a child that was killed, and not only that, but just to bring the community together. And also, I would like to thank the youth of Teaneck to had brought my brother's memory and name back to the surface, because within the past 30 years, Teaneck has seemed to manage to brush it under the rug as if it never occurred. And that's my personal feelings and thoughts on it all. But again, my mom and I, and on behalf of the foundation, we're planning to move on, and we would like to heal, and we would like to honor Philip Pennell's name. And then lastly, I would like to bring the fact of the matter that what Javalda, Ms. Powell had stated, we have been meeting on a number of occasions, and we haven't had a deadline set yet from the council on even you all making a decision on the BLM mural. And since then, 5 other communities have put up BLM murals. So again, like Ms. Powell stated, we don't know what the holdup is or what the delay is, but we're asking that you give us a deadline. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss. We have another caller ending in 814. 814, you need to unmute yourself. I think it was *6. Number ending in 814. *6, *9 maybe. Try that one too. 814. There you go. Please state your name for the record.
Thelma Pennell Dancer.
Miss Pennell, Thelma Pennell, you have 3 minutes, miss.
Yes, I am Philip Pennell's mother. The form that you all are talking about, in 1990, 30 years ago, this form was formed by people that made career off of my son's death. They got organizations formed off of my son's death. And I was told this, and I know this is true. So I want to know, why is it so important that to you guys that you cannot have a mural in Teaneck, New Jersey? I don't understand, because this was a child, and it was my child, and he was a human being. He was shot in the back with his hands up with a 60-foot stent. So what is the problem that a mural cannot get put down in Teaneck, New Jersey? My son was a human being just like anybody else. My family loved him. I love my child. So I just want to know, what is the big deal about a mural? He was a human being. He deserved to live. He didn't deserve to die that day. So can you please address that, Mr. Mayor? I really would appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Pennell. You still have 1.5 minutes if you'd like to share anything else.
And my daughter and the young people of Teaneck, New Jersey, I appreciate them for trying to get this mural done for my child. And the tree planting, everyone is invited to come October the 3rd to this mural, okay? To this tree planting. I'm nervous because this is still upsetting me after 30 years ago. And it shouldn't be that I have to go through this pain again, over and over again. So I appreciate if you do get this mural planted. This mural put down, please. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pennell. Raymond G., Financial Education Specialist for Business Owners. Sir.
Hi, how you guys doing? My name is Raymond G. Moore. It's my first time on a Zoom meeting with you guys. I saw an email about it. So I thank you for what you guys are doing and staying in communication with the town and the work you guys are doing with COVID and the things you're doing to help the town. My question is in relation to the street naming. I was wondering if that is permanent street naming, or is that temporary? And if it's temporary, is it going to be different strategies, for example, where they're honoring different businesses, not just one or two? Is that going to be something in the future to honor different people or businesses as an idea or suggestion? Or is it like a full renaming of the streets? If it's a full renaming of the streets, that I don't 100% agree with. But if it's like a temporary or honoring, renaming a little bit, then I can understand that, because I wasn't sure. I saw different emails about it. So I wanted clarification on that. The second question is, if somebody could elaborate on the FDU series, what's that about? I think I might have an interest in that or learn more about that. And then also, if different entrepreneurs or youth in the community from all nationalities, Black, Spanish, white, if they wanted to learn more about business ownership as well, what's the best way to get, to be a part of that or volunteer for different things like that? Because I'm also in education and things as well. So I'm just curious. Those are my 3 questions I'd like to be answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond. Mr. Scott Pleasance. Mr. Scott Pleasance.
Mute. Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Sir, loud and clear. 3 minutes.
All right, great. I want to just comment on a couple of things. The first thing was in regards to the street renaming. Is there I was kind of looking on the website. Is there any official way to submit a recommendation to the council as it applies to street renaming, or is it just kind of just ad hoc reach out to the council? That was my first question. And then the second question is, the second comment is, I just want to reiterate again on the importance of the Black Lives Matter mural that had been proposed in Teaneck. And it was already stated, so I don't need to restate it over again, of the meetings and the comments and everything that has been happening. But I do want to reiterate to the council and also to the public that the Puffin Foundation, which is our mainstay cultural group in Teaneck, when they got wind of the recommendation for the mural, they immediately jumped on board. They stated that they were very, very impressed, with the proposal. And not only did one of the gentlemen say that he would offer his personal support, but they eagerly, reached out back to us and offered, a grant to fund the actual project. And this is just another testament to where we were saying how inclusive of a project this can be for Teaneck. And what I had said several weeks ago also too is that currently there is no footprint in Teaneck as it applies to Black Lives Matter at all. Nothing exists. And this mural will go a very, very long way towards, as Mr. Pittman was saying, we know that all lives matter, but this is about Black Lives Mattering right now. And it's imperative upon the council to give us some feedback, and we're looking for your support to make this happen. That's all I got. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pleasance. I saw a familiar name. I submitted somebody, but hang on. I'm trying to call on Dr. Henry Pruitt, but it's not allowing me to promote him to a panelist so we could see his video. Dr. Pruitt, can you hear me? Dr. Pruitt, please keep your hand raised. We will come back to you. I don't know why it's not promoting the panelist. Deb Blayberg?
Hi,
Hello,
I'm
Ms.
here.
Blayberg.
Hi.
Hello, you have 3 minutes, miss.
First of all, I'm not going to shout at the council. Okay, first of all, I want to first commend the council for getting on PSCNG with regards to the getting when power went out again, and that I'm actually very appreciative of that because it's been a mess and we're aware that it's PSCNG. So appreciate the feedback and keeping us informed, which is all we really want. And also want to re-emphasize about the forum because that really is very important thing that needs funding. And to be honest, I think it's probably at this moment more important than most other services right now. And my other question, it goes into like procedural. I understand that at the end of each meeting, you know, you pass expenses bill, and I'm aware that there's a board member that accuses themselves every single time because there is a conflict on one line item. Would it not be smarter that she just recused herself on that particular item
Miss Blayberg.
on the others and thus participate?
Miss Blayberg, your connection.
And therefore show there was no conflict. Just wanted to ask that question there as well because I'm fully aware that there's conflict.
Blayberg, you're breaking up and we can't make out what you're saying.
Miss Blayberg, I apologize, but your connection was really not working out. You could try and call back. Good and welfare is still going on. If you can't get back or your connection isn't working out, please submit your comments to clerk@tnecnj.gov and I will be sure to include them in the draft of the minutes. Mr. Howard Rose. Mr. Howard Rose. I heard through the grapevine that you can hear me, but I don't believe any of us can hear you. I cannot hear you. Any members of council, do you see Mr. Rose?
Well, we see his name, but we don't, we just got a mute on him. Is he? Howard?
Oh, Mr. Rose.
Did we do it?
We did it.
Hey, Mr. Rose, I really apologize about that. I'm not sure what the issue is. And now I see Dr. Pruitt somehow got in too. There must be some kind of weird lag.
Okay. When we start, you don't need to give me the timing. I think I'm about a little under 3 minutes. You tell me when I should start.
1 second, sir. You are good to go, Mr. Rose. Again, I apologize.
Good evening, council. I've just sent a copy of the letter that I'm about to read to Councilman Schwartz and to the town clerk. It's done as a resident, not as an elected or appointed town official. Doug, please send a copy of it to council members and the town attorney. Dear Mark, at the last council meeting on August 11, 2020, I stated during Good and Welfare that I see one of our council members has a very colorful flag behind him. If every council member had a very colorful flag behind them, it would be a very colorful council meeting. But I'm wondering if we can get some feedback from our township attorney as to whether or not there can be any display at a council meeting of a flag other than township, state, or federal government. It may be inappropriate to have a flag of any type other than these three. You responded, when two people get up and tell our Latino councilman of Puerto Rican descent that he can't have a Puerto Rican flag in the background of his Zoom. Those are your words, not mine. You've seen over the many years that we have known each other that I do not attack, personalize, nor denigrate people. I take a position and I try to make my point. I supported and opposed you on various issues, always courteously. In January, we had a dispute regarding statements about you that were incorrectly attributed to me. It was via email. It was private. I provided corrected information and you apologized. You also wrote, "Thanks for the clarification. I look forward to many more dialogues with you." I hope that remains true. My statement was matter of fact. I had a concern and I asked the question to be posed to the township attorney. There was no word of disparagement. There was no alluding to ethnic background. I raised a similar concern about flag display at meetings other than at council. Different flag, same concern. It wasn't an American flag. At every council meeting, Board of Education meeting, and planning board meeting,
I start off stating that I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. So I ask two questions, one to the attorney and the second one to you. At council meeting, be it in chamber or on Zoom, may a flag be displayed other than the flag of the United States. Unlike a private email series of letters, your rebuke was live at a council meeting. After having publicly tarnished me with a fabricated statement, will you take the honorable action now, live, at a council meeting and publicly apologize? Sincerely, Howard Rose. Mark, please ask Mr. Shahadian for an opinion on appropriate flag display at the council meeting. I'm sorry that you put this into a public venue last meeting. I've always shown you respect. Please reciprocate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. And again, I apologize for those technical difficulties. I just transferred over Dr. Pruitt again. I'm not sure what this lag is. We'll see if he pops up. Now I'm submitting Mr. Alan Sohn. You came up, no problem. Mr. Alan Sohn, can you hear me?
Hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, loud and clear. Dr. Pruitt, I also see you there. Please don't go anywhere. Mr. Sohn, you have 3 minutes.
First off, I'm no more offended by Mr. Pagan's flag than I am by Mr. Rose's advertisement for gift certificates. But we can finally see the truth about Ordinance 15/2020. Despite all the claims about creating greater openness and transparency, advisory boards will be completely closed off to the public. Yet meetings are scheduled for advisory boards starting tomorrow with social services and parks and playgrounds scheduled to meet, but no advisory board, let alone these two. No one has been interviewed for any boards. Simply put, this council has passed an ordinance that only applies to the public, but will be completely ignored by council, which does not feel it needs to obey its own rules. There's a difference between spending that's legal and what is an effective use of taxpayer resources. The Pottyplex was supposed to cost $1 million, and we appear to be somewhere near double that amount. This might be legal, but the waste on two grotesquely over-designed kitchens, despite no interest by the sports organizations in using those kitchens, shows that this is hardly an effective use of taxpayer resources. This township was more than able to cover $750,000 in 2018 for terminal leave and passed a 0% budget with that $750,000 included. There was no need to cut the budget for terminal leave to a single dollar. The only cut necessary might have been in excess of the $750,000 already built into the budget. Beyond the opportunity to declare a 0% budget, it might make sense to defer payments into future years if only we knew where we were this year in terms of our budget. The county and the state and hundreds of municipalities entirely reworked their budget to reflect the financial realities of the COVID era, but not in Teaneck. Just to pick one example, using data finally turned over based on an OPA request, hotel occupancy taxes collected in 2019 were $280,000 over budget. So far this year, they're $120,000 under budget. That's a swing of $400,000.
1 minute,
How
Mr.
about
Sohn.
property tax collection? How about construction fees? How about other expenses? If you on council don't have this information, God help us all. We're even more screwed up than we ever imagined. If the township does have this information and all is hunky-dory for our budgets compared to actuals, why is this information not being shared with the public? I thank the manager for his offer to take questions, but those questions need to be answered. I've asked the manager for details about hotel occupancy tax collection for August and received nothing. I've asked the CFO for reports and received nothing. This council has an opportunity to show that it will act in the interest of transparency about our financial condition.
20 seconds, Mr. Sohn.
Start sharing the basic financial reports should be available to every single resident on our website without asking. What are you hiding, council?
Thank you, Mr. Sohn. Give us 1 second. Willie Thornton.
Unmute. Good evening, Town Council. I
want to speak on Black Lives Matter. I think I need to explain why this mirror means so much. There's so much happening in the world. We see our Black men. You know, we know all lives matter. We know that. But when you see that our Black men are being killed and it's not stopping, the world needs to change. We are hurting. I have 7 children. 3 of them are boys that I still worry about them. This world is changing. And we can't sit and pretend like it's not. We, the community, our Black and brown community are hurting. It seemed like no one cares. I'm a taxpayer. I've been in this community over 40 years. I've put 7 kids through the school system. I love the farm. We should really fight to protect. It's such a good resource community. I am a community, love this community, but the community I feel don't love me. It don't love my family. And it's very distressing. So I want to just plead with the town council to just put yourself in our place. Just wear our shoes and see how this mirror would give us a shot in the arm, as they say. It would give us something to bring back some kind of pride, some kind of compassion from the town. We need this now. We need it. That's all I have to say. Have a good evening. Good night.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton. Ms. Deb Blayberg.
Hopefully this works. It was just, thank you. I just wanted to get to my last point, which was my point, which is in every council meeting, you pass a bill for the list of all the expenses. And there's one council member who recuses themselves due to a conflict with Board of Education line. Would it just not make sense for this particular board member just to recuse themselves for that line and thus prove that there is no actual conflict of interest? That was my final point. Thank you, council.
Thank you, Ms. Blayberg. That was still a little muffled on my end at very least. And if possible, maybe you could just send it to me in an email and I will include it in the minutes.
I will try that, yeah.
The email is,
my
the email.
internet hates me and my children are learning.
Ms. Blayberg, I apologize. I couldn't understand anything you were saying. My email is clerk@tnecnj.gov. If something is wrong with your connection, please feel free to email me. Now I see Dr. Henry Pruitt with his hand raised. I'm trying to bring him into the webinar to talk. Dr. Pruitt, looks like you dropped out. I apologize, Deputy Mayor Schwartz is not there. Hey, Dr. Pruitt.
Henry, unmute. Henry.
I'm leaning over. I'm leaning over, Henry. I'm leaning over.
Dr. Pruitt, we had you.
Henry, can you unmute?
Button.
There
Can
you
you-
There you
am
go,
I
there you
on?
go. Don't touch anything. Don't touch anything, Dr. Pruitt.
Okay, here we
Go, Henry.
Teaneck's a special place, and America's a special place. And reasonably soon, I hope, the pandemic will be managed and the economic crisis will be managed. The racial divide in this country will remain a problem. I think placing the mural on whatever street you decide to place it on will show the rest of New Jersey that Teaneck really is concerned about Black lives. I think it's a delicate issue, and I think that we ought to really face the fact that we live in a country that does not respect Black lives. If we want to remain the progressive town to the outside viewers, we should really consider putting that mural up as the students have asked. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pruitt, for bearing with those technical difficulties.
All right,
Mayor,
I
I
don't
don't
see-
see anyone else.
Okay, so I'll close good and welfare at this point in time. What we'll do now is we will go around the council with comments, and then what I'm also going to ask when it comes to me is I'm going to ask legal counsel to address a couple of issues as well as the manager. All right, so we'll start off with Councilmember Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I just want to say, we started off with Sandy Silverberg. And as was indicated by many of the residents in their comments, many members of the community are still suffering through many hardships, which include COVID-19, job loss, and the demonstration of social injustice and racism. And I think that it's been demonstrated that many residents would like for our community to demonstrate an impactful way to address some of those issues. And I just wanted to mention, Sandy mentioned what's happening with the library, and it was comforting to know that residents like her and the Friends of the Library are meeting the needs of their fellow residents and addressing the fact that folks are still in need, folks are still hurting, and we're looking for an opportunity for this community to come together and begin some of that healing process. The forum was another issue that was mentioned by a number of community members. I would like to think that we as a community, including our legislative body and including our senator, can address the issues that will come up with our governor about how important this forum is. As was mentioned, so many adults are experiencing depression and devastation by many issues. So I think that I can only imagine that our students and our youth, particularly our high school students, are also impacted, and mental health is a great concern, which can be addressed through the forum. So I do hope that we can help support in any way. I also wanted to thank Ms. Natasha Pinnell and Ms. Thelma Pinnell for their invitation to us to attend the Tree of Healing on October 3rd. Would like to certainly plan to be there. And I think that hopefully we can also share more about the FDU series. I believe it was mentioned earlier, but hopefully that would be an opportunity again for a healing process in terms of race relations, which I think are a very serious matter that this township needs to address. Thank you.
Councilmember Pagan.
Thank you, Mayor. At the last council meeting and just now, actually, a couple of residents attacked this beautiful flag you see behind me, the Puerto Rican flag. They asked why I have this flag, and the answer is because I am proud of my Puerto Rican heritage and culture. This flag has hung inside and outside for more than 30 years, and I will not take it. Que yo soy boricua la luna y soy boricua de pura cepa. While I forgive these residents for their culturally insensitive attacks, one in particular should know better because he is a member of the school board, and Hispanic students make up more than 50% of the population in our public schools. But then I am reminded of another school board member who recently made racially insensitive remarks about a Latina who was being appointed to the planning board. Clearly, we still have a long way to go when it comes to accepting one another, because one of our greatest strengths is should be celebrating that. On that note, when it comes to the utmost faith in our mayor and the community members who are working so hard to figure this out, Black Lives Matter. While we all agree and recognize that Black Lives Matter, when it comes to having a street mural, it is a little more complicated than people think because of cost and vandalism and lawsuits that we have seen in other communities. So I have a proposal for us to consider while we figure this all out. we should rename a prominent street like Elizabeth Avenue Black Lives Matter Way. Renaming a street involves minimal cost, can happen quickly, and will be a marker that lasts decades into the future. Elizabeth Avenue is home to my alma mater, Teaneck High School, and this would also serve as a fitting tribute to our young leaders who led our town's powerful and peaceful protests and continue to effectuate change. Again, I have the utmost faith in our mayor and those who are working so hard to make this happen. But this is something else we should also consider to show Black Lives Matter. I'd also like to remind residents that February 15th to October 15th, and this is when we recognize the contributions made by the 61 million Latinos in America, the contributions of the 1.7 million Latinos in New Jersey, and the more than 7,600 Latinos who live in Teaneck. And lastly, I want to recognize and remember the 8 Teaneck residents we lost on September 11th. Daniel Bergstein, Gregory Clark, Fanny Espinosa, George Ferguson, Jennifer Fialco, Lillian Frederick, Edward Lickstein, and Mark Rosenberg. We miss them, we love them, and we will always keep them and their families in our hearts. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is my 3 minutes.
Thank you, Councilmember Devine. Councilmember Kaplan.
The tough one to follow. I remember that day also. I was unfortunately getting out of the World Trade subway station at the time. It's still gets me today. I want to thank the residents that came out. A lot of people, it seemed whether we're talking about the street renaming policies or ordinances that we pass, there seems to be a disconnect in communication. I want to thank, a number of the council members that invited me and have been walking around town for the last several weeks, going to areas of the Northeast, I think last week, before that, the Southwest, Country Club, all over town, talking to residents. We're your neighbors. So one of the things, you don't have to wait until a council meeting. I'm happy to explain a lot of this stuff, the street renaming policy that you were asking about, Mr. Moore. It's an honorary street renaming. We did this, I mentioned before, in 2015. I believe Councilman Sohn was one of the people who was supporting it, for people in town that have offered a significant impact to the town. And years later, the council expanded the process, and it's a 90-day temporary renaming. We do these things to honor the business communities that give back to this town, that put a lot of effort into the town, whether it's community relations or funds that they contribute. And it's a great program. They get a piece of Teaneck history that goes along with it. And I hear the painted conflict when it comes to the issue of the mural. I want to reach out and speak to, I know Mr. Kirby White had reached out to me. I was having a lot going on with my family at the time. I hope I can get in touch with you again. There are a lot of court cases that I'm following. There's one in DC that's specifically on point with this. I am very concerned about walking into an area that's literally under litigation right now by other groups. This is a different type of thing that we've had in the before. So while I stated from the beginning, I am absolutely in favor of art. I am in favor of messaging. And, one of the things I'm proud of Teaneck for is, the organization may not have a footprint here, but this is Teaneck. This is the place where we had Black deputy mayor, Mr. McNatt, who was in the 60s. We had Black judges. We had the first Black female mayor in Bergen County. We have a school renaming for one of these civil rights icons that lives right here in Teaneck. There is no one that can say that Black lives don't matter in Teaneck. It shows, and we need to express that a little more. We need to talk with each other a little bit more about those contributions. And I look forward to having those chats with everyone. When you see us walking in the streets, come and say hi.
Thank you. Councilmember Organ.
Thank you. I also want to start with Ms. Silverberg. I think the work that you're doing with the Friends of the Library and the food pantry is wonderful. We were at the food pickup at the AUCC today, and we saw the big truck of food that produce and dairy that they were sending over to the food pantry, and that's great. And we were also able to see just how many people in the area need food or are picking up food for other people. They gave away 90 tons of food today, and there were people lined up for it. So we do need to help each other. And I'm wondering what we can do to help the Friends of the Library. If I think it's great that children are getting books, if we can help collect them. I've seen lending libraries all over town in our walks, so maybe that's something we can talk about. And piggybacking on Councilman Kaplan, we have been walking the town. We've been walking every Saturday, different threesomes of us just talking to people. If people have emailed us nicely and have had things they wanted to talk about, we show up and we stand and we talk, and we go to businesses and we talk. And I think it's wonderful that people reach out, and as long as it's respectful and there's no threat at the end of the email, we're so happy to reach out and speak to everybody. And that's really what gets things done. Not the people that look at the agenda every time there's a meeting and just decide what they're going to complain about, because that doesn't help anybody. But I think all the things that people are doing that are helping each other, that's really what Teaneck's about. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, Councilman Kaplan, thank you for explaining the honorary street renaming and the questions that Ms. Gordon brought up, as well as others. That is a 90-day temporary renaming. If you do know someone that is deserving of a sign, either they should reach out or you should reach out. I did get a request for the Novus Glass that came in via the email from Mr. Pittman, so I did get that email. I'll reach out to him to first make sure that's something he wants. Obviously, as I mentioned with Bischoff's, it's something they did not want, so I'm going to make sure that gets done first. Howard Rose, my apologies. There were multiple people, and you said to yourself, 2 people at least, that made flag comments. One was much more critical than you. Your comment was relatively respectful. My attack, shall we say, was regarding mostly the way the other attack that wasn't so respectful, so I apologize. I still firmly stand behind Councilman Pagan's desire and right and to put anything he wants in his background. People have pipes in their background. We can put flags in our background. So I stand behind that, but I do apologize if you took it more personally than I meant it. Obviously, you and I have had some great dialogue over the many years, and I hope to have that dialogue in the future. As it relates to our budget, the questions that are brought up again, the manager discussed all the aspects of the budget. Municipalities do not do monthly budgets and variances. If you find a municipality that does, please submit the name. I'd love to see it. Of course, the state and the county submitted very late budgets. In the years that we submitted a late budget, we got attacked for submitting late budgets. This year we submitted an early budget, and now we seemingly are getting attacked for submitting an early budget. So, Mr. Manager, thank you very much for your budget management. Yes, the one dark side we have is, of course, the hotel occupancy tax. And that came in late, especially later in August. It's going to be late because no one's staying in the hotels. That being said, everything else is looking excellent. As the manager reported, the minor variances and collections. The state works on income tax, the county and the state on sales tax. They've got problems. Thankfully, our problems are minimal and relate to the hotel tax primarily. And we have no reporting that we've ever done. And if there's any other questions about our tax or our fiscal impact, feel free to reach out to the manager. And he can gladly tell it to you. And again, if there's other towns that do this more global reporting, let's hear about that. Let's see if there's something we can do, but I do not believe that's done in New Jersey. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Katz?
Yes, first, sorry about that. Okay, first, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
First, I'd like to echo what Ms. Eliyahu stated. I've been getting several complaints about not just the one mailbox on Palisades Avenue by the post office, but several throughout the town where people have had their mail stolen and checks forged. So I know that we've reached out to the congressman's office about this. I know that the police department was made aware of it. I know our manager knows about it. And he also, I believe we spoke to the postmaster about it. But I think we do have to give a little bit, I don't know what we should be doing, you know, to tell people not to mail things. I don't know. But obviously some more caution has to be presented to the community. As far as street renaming, I mean, this is a policy that's, or I should say this is a process that's been in place for several years as honorary street renaming. It's a symbolic gesture that's being done. I think I applaud Deputy Mayor Schwartz for really pushing it and accelerating the project at a time when the world is so divisive and so angry and so heated that we bring some happiness and joy to specific people in specific corners. So I think that's a positive, and the process is, I won't always support every single honorary sign. I have to feel comfortable that I can support it. And that's the process on my side. As far as the Black Lives Matter mural, I have to tell you, and I've stated this at every meeting, you know, I don't want to say I understand the pain that the African-American community is going through, because I can't say that I can understand that. I mean, I definitely feel and know that we as elected officials have a responsibility to do something to show that we are aligned with what is going on to the African-American community around the country. And I understand that that's why the requests are being made. I don't want to, you know, make anyone on this call think that we're trying to brush it under the rug or that we think it's going to disappear. I don't think that the cause or the request is going to disappear. And I think that we've been trying to address it. And our mayor's been proactively meeting to try to get something that will bring a consensus of the council to do it. You know, I stated at previous meetings that if you're going to do it on a street, you know, similar to other requests like street closings or change of hours, etc., block parties, you know, that you get a certain amount of residents on that street to sign that says an agreement. I think that's just one factor for me. You know, Ms. Pinnell, I feel your pain. Actually, I don't feel your pain. I don't know how it would be to lose a child, and I can only imagine the horror you've lived through over the last 30 years now. You know, and I certainly you know, certainly don't understand how it is to lose a sibling either. So I speak to your daughter as well. But I will not support a mural that has Philip Pinnell's name on it anywhere, if you're asking me for my vote. So that's one of my issues. But everybody here has a different concern. And the issue is, how do we get consensus? And that's what the delay is. The delay is trying to work with the elected officials to come up with something that, you know, that as it was stated, you know, I think an earlier person said, African-American community needs this. And I fully understand and I fully agree that something should be done. But let's do something that we have a consensus. If you're coming and asking for permission, you know, because I won't vote for something that I don't fully support. And there's certain aspects that right now I can't support, but I do support the concept, you know, and I do feel that it's important that we as elected officials stand united with the African-American community at a time when they're in so much pain. So thank you very much. And that's it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm going to first I'm going to first turn to the manager. If you would address the questions related to the body cameras.
Sure. Captain McGurr is spearheading this project. We are doing our due diligence. This is not something that I can snap my finger and say within a month or 6 weeks it's going to be done. It doesn't work that way. We are going to ensure that the body cameras we choose will integrate with our current car cameras, and that's very important. We're doing testing. And again, as I mentioned, this is of no cost to the taxpayers. When I originally reported this, I wasn't sure if this would be come from our taxes, but we found a way to fund this project at no cost to taxpayers. It also involves us purchasing a large server to store this data. However, the prosecutor's office has a plan in place so that we do not have to absorb the cost of a server. They would hold the server on the county level to accommodate every municipality. So we are working on this. This is a priority for me. It's a priority for the chief. As I mentioned, the police are unequivocally in favor of this and want to get it done, again, to show that they are doing the right thing and doing excellent police work for our community. The statutory language in Ordinance 19-2020 is the same for every municipality. There are no plans for layoffs, and so that everyone is aware how the layoff process would go, I would need to come up with a plan. I'd have to notify civil service. They'd have to review everything. They'd have to approve the plan. Unions would be notified. Employees would be notified. So the notion of bringing up layoffs doesn't make any sense to me. Again, this language is the same for this statutory language is the same for every municipality. We took proper steps to offset the anticipated revenue deficits that every municipality, 565 municipalities are experiencing in the state. We are no different. They include delaying of hirings, non-discretionary spending. So we've done a pretty good job managing that. I'm proud of our CFO for doing that as well. Many of my colleagues that I've spoken to in other jurisdictions, business administrators, managers, have not amended their budgets because of COVID-19. So again, this is an unprecedented situation. There is no playbook for it. We are managing the budget properly. And I have I'm very comfortable, as I mentioned, where we're at right now. With the warning about checks, the police department did put out a warning in January, which was published in newspapers as well. They ID'd mailboxes of concern and tips to avoid mail theft. So that was covered. As well. But I will speak to the chief, and if we need to get additional information out, we will get it out this week. Thanks.
Thank you, Dean. John, could you just briefly discuss the issue with the flag the Councilmember Pagan has?
Sure. So just a couple of quick points. The flag has been or flags have been a legal issue for the township for around the last year, I want to say. So if everybody goes back to the ordinance that I referenced earlier this evening, we talked about changing the flag protocol for flags that fly on township property. That is where there are restrictions as to what flags can be there. The only restriction or the only requirement for a flag at a council meeting inside is that the American flag has to be flown. That's by state statute. Other than that, whatever you want to have in your background is completely up to the individual person who has it in their background. Why do I say that? Well, one, it's America. Number two, we have a thing called freedom of speech in this country, and council members have no less freedom of speech than any other individual or citizen or resident of Teaneck. And if Councilman Pagan decides that flying the flag of Puerto Rico behind himself is how he wants to speak at the council meetings, that's his prerogative to do that. There's no legal requirement or legal prohibition that says you cannot do that at a public meeting. It will be no different than a council person wearing the flag of Puerto Rico or anywhere or any other symbol on their shirt. and we wouldn't tell them what shirt to wear. I've never seen anybody complain about that. So with that said, I think, Mr. Rose raised some issues or asked some questions. Those are my answers to his questions. And I think Councilman Pagano is just fine having his flag behind him.
Okay, thank you. Couple of things for me. First of all, in terms of the FDU series, this was my idea because I feel that one of the ways in which we're going to move the needle, whether it be here in Teaneck or in this county or this country, is through education and education of the right people. I think I've said before, and I think I said it from the dais on July 1st, okay? This is not a black problem, it's a white problem. And it's how we have set up this country for well over 300 years, pre-country, in its treatment of Black Americans. So we have to do the educating, or education has to be gotten to them. And that was one of the reasons why I reached out to FDU to try to start this kind of dialogue. So hopefully we're going to be able to get some speakers. As I said, I'm going to be having a conference call with one of the faculty members tomorrow to see how we can put together some educational opportunities for the citizens of Teaneck, and frankly, whoever else wants to join in. They've done it before in some other towns and with some school systems, and they thought it was very successful. So I figured it would be good to bring it here. So as we get more meat on the bone with that, we'll certainly bring that out. I'll bring it to council, and hopefully sooner than later, we may be able to set up some dates. Secondly, in terms of the advisory boards, I really don't know how many different ways I can say the same thing, but I can tell you that no one was thrown off a board. No one is going to be thrown off a board. People are going to get 1 and 2 year terms, just like what's in the advisory board. They are advisory board members then. They are advisory board members now. You can interpret the words any way you want. And if you want us to throw, it sounds like what they want me to do, or want us to do rather, is to throw everybody off these boards. That's not going to happen, because these boards are too important and to have them function correctly. As a matter of fact, when I met with the advisory board chairs over the last 2 weeks to go over the ordinance with them, I had several of them thank me that for once somebody took the initiative to try to clean this up, because they really saw the problems that I saw and others saw. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this works out. Those people are appointed and they will remain appointed. In terms of the mural, I thank Deputy Mayor Katz for his comments. This has been a struggle. It's been somewhat of a personal struggle for me, because I want to do something. And I've told the council that in no uncertain terms that I want to do something. But every step of the way, we run into an issue, or we run into a barrier, or we run into not being able to agree on if we're going to do it, a design that will be acceptable to everybody. I've asked the manager to again try and set up one more meeting with the mural group, hopefully for next week. I agree, I'm getting frustrated in terms of not getting something done, that we need to move on from this and make it real and make it work for our town in whatever way that we can. But you also have to understand that in this climate, in this time, we're responsible to make sometimes some difficult decisions based on what the law throws at us. And when you have pending litigation on the exact question that would be raised if we went and did something here with an outside group, it would basically be political and governance malpractice, in my opinion, if we were to move just blindly forward and do something that would put us in the crosshairs of a legal issue. That would cost us a lot of money, because what we've also learned is that when this occurs, we are going to have to pay not only our legal fees, but we're going to have to pay the legal fees of the other people who we've wronged. And at the end of the day, they will put the mural up and we will not be able to stop anybody else from putting any mural up that they want. Otherwise, we'll get sued again. So we're trying to do this in a manner that meets the needs of the Black community and the mural group, while at the same time protecting the town, because as I said, I want to do something. This town should do something. This town should lead. Okay, and I think Dr. Pruitt talked about and described the town very well. That's what I want. That's what I want to do. I think all my fellow council members want to do it, but they want to do it in a way that's unifying and do it in a way that we don't have to worry about spending your money to try and defend it and bring us up to other groups, putting other stuff in that we don't want to see on our streets. So that's the dilemma we're at. As I say, we're going to have another meeting. But yes, I do want to set a date, and whatever we're going to do, we got to move on. And I think that's all I have. Okay. So,
Mayor?
Yes.
So for the consent agenda, the next item on the agenda, before we move it, I believe, and Attorney Shadanian can correct me if I'm wrong, we need to mention that we will be including resolutions 180-2020, supporting the breast cancer awareness flag, and resolution 181-2020, which was Councilman Kaplan's proposed resolution to support forum funding. Is that correct, John?
Correct, Doug. Mr. Clark.
Please,
Funding
Doug.
and breast cancer flag. Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can I just get clarification that the flag for breast cancer is going to be flown in the same way that we flew other requested flags?
Absolutely.
Right, that you're speaking as the, not just the mayor, but also the chair of that advisory board, correct?
Yeah, I absolutely would do that. Yes.
And okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Is Deputy Mayor Katz, is your concern that it's not going to be flown on locations that we've said the other flags can't be flown? Is that your concern?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're consistent. I obviously, I know that we're going to be. I think it just needs to be said that we're consistent with the way we handle flag requests. You know, if there is a consensus on the council to go with that subject matter, whatever the subject matter is, today it's breast cancer awareness, which is very important to me as well. One of my best friend's wife just had surgery 3 days ago. Then, you know, then I just want to make sure we stay consistent.
Agreed. Anybody else? Okay. Okay, Doug?
We need a motion to move the consent agenda, which is now including resolution 180-2020, the breast cancer awareness flag, and resolution 181-2020 for supporting forum funding.
Can I have a motion?
Motion to move the consent agenda.
That was
Can I-
Councilman.
Can I ask that item 179 be pulled?
Item
To pull 179.
Correct.
179.
So then we're having a motion to move consent agenda for the aforementioned excluding 179-2020, which will be considered after the consent agenda. So can we have a motion for that?
Hold on. Will somebody move that? Okay.
So moved by Mark Schwartz.
Second.
So it is moved, seconded.
And that's the consent agenda, which does include the raffles, minutes, resolutions excluding 179, but including 180 and 181-2020, and the bill list in the amount of $6,629,736.25.
Any other comments?
And that was a second. Who was that second? I'm sorry, I was breaking up.
I did, Javon.
Oh, Javon, you got it. All right. Roll call, Councilwoman Rami Rice,
Yes, with an abstention on the bills list.
Councilman Bagan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ,
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz,
Yes, with an abstention on 175-2020, as well as the bills list.
and Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes.
All
Now
adopted.
we'll discuss 179-2020. Councilmember Rice, you wanted that poll?
Yeah, I just wanted to have some detail or further clarification of what this entails. You know, I read the agreement, but I just wanted to know how the township would be in terms of hold harmless, the indemnity there.
Mr. Attorney, that's a planning board sign, if I'm correct, Mr. Attorney, is that right?
You're muted, John.
Muted.
Sorry. This is, it's correct, Deputy Mayor Schwartz. This is a pro forma hold harmless agreement that we utilize for these types of situations where there's something that encroaches ever so slightly, if you would, into one of our rights of way. The awning on this particular business wasn't encroaching. It was discussed with them. They requested that the township consent to the license, which again, we've granted this to probably in my 4 years, I'm going to say at least 5 or 6 of them. It's not uncommon.
Far more.
Excuse me?
Far more.
Far more.
Far more than that?
Far more. Yeah.
To the council, yeah. I mean, I know I've personally written up probably 5 or 6, so it's probably more like 20 because Mr. Rupp's probably written the rest of them. But my point is that this is a pro forma, so I'm not sure what the question is, Councilwoman. We're protected from any lawsuits. The business is responsible for it. You know, this is almost more really ministerial act. I mean, there's a legitimate reason for it, but it's not. It's really not of any substance.
Mr. Mayor?
Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Yeah, when it comes to awnings, and there were some other issues when it came to items that were protruding in the public right of way, we have always made it a request and a requirement that we get the insurance, and we did one of these licenses. So that's not, to me, this is a standard. Can you just tell me what the name of this business is?
Yes, it's in the resolution.
I didn't see it. I mean, I saw it on one page.
I got it.
JC's Hair Palace.
Yeah.
Got it.
We recently did this, I want to say at the end of 2019 for Greenhouse Juices.
Yeah, I remember when, especially the awnings, it was a very common practice.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. Just curious when we're being, want to make sure if we're being held harmless that we are protected.
All right. Do I hear a motion to move 179-2020?
I'll move it.
Mark Schwartz, second.
Second. Roll call?
Councilwoman Rami Rice,
Yes.
Councilman Bagan,
He's telling me that he's frozen.
Yeah, he's gonna pass on. He just texted me. He's logged off. Next.
I see a thumbs up. Councilman Bagan, I'm going to consider that to be a yes. Councilwoman Organ,
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz,
Yes.
Mayor Dunleavy,
Yes.
179 adopted, separate from the consent agenda.
Okay. Next item is the introduction of ordinances.
You got it. Tonight, we are introducing for first reading ordinance number 21-2020, authorizing an amendment to the lease agreement between the Township of Teaneck and the Teaneck Senior Citizens Housing Association Incorporated with respect to premises located along East Cedar Lane, Block 4201, Lot 19, for affordable housing for senior citizens. Ordinance number 22-2020, amending sections 36-12 at all times of Division 3 prohibited parking and section 36-21 time limited parking to Division 3 limited parking of Article 2 parking of Chapter 36 traffic of the Township Code to add 15-minute time limited parking along a portion of West Englewood Avenue. Ordinance number 23-2020, an ordinance establishing salary ranges and classification of positions for municipal employees in the Township of Teaneck, included within the Teaneck Public Workers Association, Inc., and United Public Service Employees Union, Department of Public Works, non-supervisory contract for the years 2020 and 2021. Ordinance number 24-2020, amending section 36-11.2 of Division 1 of Article 2 of Chapter 36 entitled Traffic of the Township Code to add a sunset clause to the establishment of restricted on-street parking spaces for the handicapped. Ordinance number 25-2020, an ordinance establishing a trust fund for off-track parking improvements and fixing a fee for appropriating the pro rata share for the cost thereof for certain new construction requiring site plan approval. And last but not least, ordinance number 26-2020, an ordinance establishing an emergency services trust fund and fixing a fee for apportioning the pro rata share for the cost thereof for certain new construction requiring site plan renewal.
Mr. Mayor,
26 and 25, I believe, are the same thing.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Kaplan.
on introduction, I had spoken with the attorney and a couple of our colleagues regarding 3 of these ordinances. I wanted to make a motion to change the language for 24-2020. Currently, in this form, it allows for a sunset clause after 2 years, based on how long these are for handicap parking spots when we give people handicap spots in front of their homes. Based on how long people live in their homes, I believe 2 years is going to be a little onerous. So as long as there's a second to my motion, I would like to change that to 5 years from the effective date of such designation or extension for owners, and 2 years from the effective date of such designation or extension, or the end of a lease date, whichever is later for renters. So in plain English, if you live in the house and you own it, you'll have it for 5 years, which can be extended through the clerk's office. If you rent the home, it'll either be the longer of 2 years or the end of your lease.
I'll second that.
Okay, so it's moved and seconded to amend ordinance 24-20 as discussed. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor, not on those two, but I have questions about 25 and 26.
I had something on that
We're right now on the amendment for 24. Okay, we can talk about the other after.
Just point of
discussion right now is on the amendment of 24.
And you have a second, so there's a motion and a second.
Right. Yeah. So I now have a discussion, and I'm waiting for that. If there's no other discussion, I'm sorry, Councilmember Organ.
Just a question. The reason we're limiting the length of time, we're putting the sunset clause on, is because even though someone may own the home, we feel the person who needs a spot might not be there? Is that their?
Well, what we found in the past was that these things were created by ordinance, and ordinance never goes away unless council removes it. So at some point, and the manager can speak to it, the police department would do a survey to see how many of these things are still in existence for people that need them, how many of those people moved away. It takes time from the police department, it takes time from the clerk's office staff. What this would do is say, you have it for 5 years. At the end of the 5-year period, the clerk sends a letter to the homeowner. Do you still need this? If so, it can be extended very easily. And if not, it comes off the rolls.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions of the maker? Okay, seeing none. You're voting to amend 24-2020 by changing it to, and correct me Keith if I'm wrong here, 2 years for renters and 5 for homeowners.
It's 5 for homeowners, and I'll send the exact language as I read it, which we'll vote on, which is 5 years from the effective date of such designation or extension for owners, and 2 years from the effective date or of such designation or extension, or the end of the lease date, whichever is later for renters. So if a person's renting a house for 3 years, they get it to the end of the lease date. And the idea of that is it's meant for the owner of the house as long as they're living there. If your lease ends in 3 years, that's when it ends.
Okay. Doug, call the roll call on the amendment, please.
So this is just for ordinance 24, reminding everybody, Councilwoman Rami Rice.
No,
Yes.
this is just for the amendment.
Yes.
Okay.
Councilwoman Rami Rice,
Yes, again.
Councilman Began,
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ,
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz,
Yes.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes. Councilmember Kaplan, you mentioned, I think, ordinance 25, 2020?
Right, so 25, just the paragraph G4, I had spoken to the attorney and I didn't want a repeat of the issues we had with the sewer ordinance where there was a little clarification up front can go a long way. So just to modify the language, basically saying the exact same thing, to say, by way of example, new construction of 9,999 square feet shall not require payment of a parking trust fund fee. Any subsequent new commercial construction bringing the total to 10,000 square feet or more will require payment of a parking trust fund fee for each square foot of new construction of 10,000 square feet or more. Basically just clarifying the language that's already there.
So there's an amendment on the floor to 25, 2020 to clarify language. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Second. Any other discussion on
Yes.
2020?
On 25, just further clarification of the use of the trust fund and what that would be establishing and where those funds would be applied and used.
So if I could pipe in, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
So I wish this ordinance was around 3 years ago prior to any of the development or the finalization of any development. And we were talking about it, but unfortunately, we never were able to get this off the ground and get it going. And I don't blame anyone but myself. But this is basically doing is saying that there are many developments going on in town. And we want to encourage that development, but also there is, at some point there is an impact to the parking situation in this town. So what we're asking for is a very, 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 very small contribution to this parking fund, so that I assume it'll be like, I don't know if it's stated in the ordinance exactly, or Councilman Kaplan can advise, but I assume that it's similar to other funds like the Hyatt Fund, where the council can say, listen, we have X amount of dollars that has accumulated in this parking fund based on all the developments going on in town. Teaneck Road parking lot needs a new meters, or Teaneck Road parking lot needs striping or some other improvements. Let's take it from the parking fund and avoid going to our taxpayers' pockets for the improvements for these funds.
I think what we've done is we've slipped into a discussion of the main motion, and we need to discuss. It was very eloquent, but
I'm good. I practiced all morning.
Okay, so we're now on the amendment as proposed by Councilmember Kaplan to change the wording as he discussed. Any further discussion on that amendment? Hearing none. Doug, call the roll, please.
Councilwoman Rami Rice,
Yeah.
Councilman Began,
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ,
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz,
Yes.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes.
Amendment.
Now you're back to the main motion as amended. Any further discussion?
Thank you, Ellie, for your previous explanation.
You're welcome, John. Sorry.
You were just a little early and I appreciate that it was already discussed.
And Mayor, if I could just mention too, that for Councilwoman Romney Rice, to her question, that it actually says that the purpose of the trust fund is to provide additional public parking within the township to service commercial districts within the township. So that language is in subparagraph G of section 1.
Right, but and just in terms of, I guess my question is that we're collecting the fund, but there's been no discussion about such parking. So that's why I was just, asking for a point of clarity.
Okay.
Mr. Attorney, is it limited to just additional parking, or can we add the language of improvements as well? Or is it in there?
It's just that the language just says that that's what it's established for. It's established to provide additional parking to service the commercial districts. If we want to amend it to add other improvements.
I think additional parking / improvements would be a better wording. If I'd like to make a motion on that.
I'll second it.
Okay, I make a motion to that.
Okay, so we have another motion to amend 25-2020 to add the word what, Deputy Mayor?
Additional parking / improvements.
Additional parking / improvements. Have you a second?
Second.
Or additional parking or improvements.
Okay. It's moved and seconded to amend 25-2020. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none. Doug, call it.
Councilwoman Romney Rice, and actually, wait, before I take the roll call on this amendment, it's 11:03. We need to extend the
I
meeting.
make a motion to extend additional 15 minutes.
Second.
Second, extended to 11:18.
Okay, go ahead.
Councilwoman Romney Rice,
Yes.
Councilman Bagan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ,
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz,
Yes.
Mayor Dunleavy,
Yes.
25 amended.
Any other?
Okay, and the last one is just a amendment to 26-2020. After speaking with the manager and the attorney, section H3, which has a number currently, the 7 cents. I think it would be best to change it to there hereby established an emergency services trust fund with a fee per square foot of new construction to be negotiated in a developer's agreement of the new commercial construction. And the reason is that a empty warehouse is going to have different needs for the township than a large scale residential facility or a commercial facility. So as long as we treat each type of facility equally, I think it should be at the discretion of the developers agreement to ensure that the fund is adequate to the type of entity.
I second that, and I agree 100%.
Any discussion on the amendment?
And if I could add H4 to just mirror the language of 25-2020, the clarity of language, with the only exception being emergency services trust fund instead of parking trust fund.
Deputy Mayor Katz?
I second Councilman Kaplan's comments, and I think a great example of where you need the flexibility is tonight as we bring up the East Cedar Lane negotiated settlement and the way that we were able to help our emergency service fund there when it comes to affordable housing and their limitations versus maybe a different development and their limitations.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Hearing none. Doug, call a roll on the amendment.
On the amendment only, correct?
Amendment only.
Yes, on the amendment.
Councilman Bagan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ,
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz,
Yes.
Mayor Dunleavy,
Yes.
amended.
All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Deputy Mayor?
on these ordinances, can we please just get an explanation regarding ordinance 22-2020? how this came about? What was the request? What's it exactly doing?
Does the manager have a?
The manager.
This, yeah, Mr. Kaczynski,
Yeah.
I think Dean or Mark may have the answer to that. This was a little older,
Yeah,
I
I'll
think.
take that. This is in regards to making the parking on West Englewood legalized at 15 minutes, so as to encourage the people who are eating to not park right there, but more so for the people that are going to the stores, dropping off, picking up suits and everything like that. Mr. Manager, did I get that right? This is that ordinance, correct?
Yes, it is.
Exactly. That's
Are you sure? Because according
This ordinance, Deputy Mayors, is West Englewood from a point 80 feet west of the westerly curb line of Teaneck Road. And this is the ordinance that would be changed to allow 15 minutes of parking for people to visit the storefronts there by Teaneck and West Englewood.
got it. So that's how it came about for the it's not the lower West Englewood, it's the upper West Englewood.
Yeah, and I visited the area. It's literally right in front of a pickup for a restaurant there. So it's a good place for a 15-minute.
Okay, I will be abstaining from this as well.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other comments on any of the other ordinances?
Yes, back to the emergency service fund.
Give me a number.
26.
26, was that one 26?
Yes, 26.
Yeah.
20, yep.
Yes, thank you, 26. So I'm just, the Emergency Service Trust Fund to assist offset additional emergency services. So this is above and beyond what's already budgeted for emergency services, including police, fire, and et cetera. So I was just curious as to, this is additional cost because of that particular commercial area, or, I'm just curious as to why this is in addition to what's already budgeted for.
I don't think this is the cost, but Deputy Mayor Katz?
Yeah, so Councilmember Rice, it's a good question. This is a vehicle that we're putting in place so that when we do have these developments, we are able to ask them for a contribution to go into this vehicle per se. I don't know who negotiated the Hyatt Fund with Classic Residents 20-something years ago or 30-something years ago, probably 30-something years ago, 40-something years ago. But they left us with $250,000 that's been paying dividends, and it's been going to social services for so many years. The hopes and idea is that here, as people want to invest into the community, similar to the impact they're going to have on parking, they're also going to be having a real impact on emergency services. And if we can create this kind of fund where we can try to capture a little extra money, like we did on the EC negotiations, and this would be the vehicle to place it into this fund. And then the council would say, okay, you know what? The police department needs new defibrillators, and we have, X amount of dollars. Why don't we buy the defibrillators from the fund rather than, once again, going to the taxpayers and saying, hey, taxpayers, pay up for the new defibrillators, or if the fire department needs new whatever it is, or exceptional stuff. So I think that's the real purpose of this fund, is more just to create a mechanism or a vehicle or a place that during a developer's agreement, we could make a good case of you should be contributing to our emergency service fund.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on any of the other ordinances? Hearing none.
Motion to adjourn.
Doug?
We got to introduce him first, Deputy Mayor.
Oh, sorry. I do that every meeting. I make a motion to introduce these ordinances.
Second,
Second, roll call. Councilwoman Romney Rice.
yes.
Councilman Began.
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ.
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan. Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yes, with an abstention on 22-2020.
I was 22. 22. And Mayor Dunleavy,
Yes,
ordinance is introduced.
ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Unless
Thank
there,
you all. Meeting adjourned, 11:11 PM.
And everyone, be
Motion.
safe.
have a good night, everybody. Take care. We'll talk soon, I'm sure.